Hello again, everybody. It is Friday. That means episode 2 of Sports Clichés is live. You got me, Craig7. To, I believe, my right would be Tapatio J.
Other way.
No,
Yeah, the point. There you go. Yeah.
There we go. There we go.
All right.
Yeah, coming off... disappointing, really, because last week we were coming off of a friggin' awesome Thursday night game that we could just jump right into, smooth transition. This week's Thursday night game sucked.
It sucked for some reasons. It was entertaining for others, like Josh Johnson, like knowing where that guy's come from, how many different teams he's like dipped his toe into the leagues. Like he's hit 3 different leagues, right? So like
Yeah.
seeing him actually come out and be able to sling it a little bit.
Yeah,
that was kind of cool.
To be fair, I wonder how much of that was Josh Johnson and how much of that was the Colts were up 42-10 and kind of backed off tremendously.
I suppose. I mean, early on, both teams kind of came out firing. Touchdown.
Yeah.
Mike White Lightning, like he's looking.
I mean, we can all agree that's the real shame of this game, right? Is Mike White getting hurt?
Exactly. That's the thing that sucks the most, right there. Was you hate to see it. Like, and just on a typical play. I guess it's been happening. It feels like it's happening a little bit more to quarterbacks, to where they're just going through that motion, and they're just hitting it
arm off the helmet, yeah.
Helmet or shoulder pad or something like that, and like he was able to like kind of grip the ball, but you could see as soon as he went and threw it.
Well, he threw that one on the sideline that literally just dirt balled, right?
Exactly. And then you just shake
right away. He looked at the coach, and you could see him saying something like, "I can't feel it," or "It's it doesn't feel right." He said something about feel. I'm not as good at reading lips as urinating tree, but or John Boy rather, but said something about like it doesn't feel right. So I wonder if they said they feel like he'll be fine for Sunday. So like obviously not tomorrow, but next Sunday.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if it was like a nerve pinch kind of thing, right? Where like he caught a nerve as it came down, and he lost feeling in it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then by the time it was feeling better, they were down 42, and they just decided discretion's a better part of valor.
Yeah, you wonder though, like, because I'm trying to think about when Johnson first came in. I thought he actually like kind of had a drive going a little bit. They were allowing him to throw the ball. I remember that. I remember Josh Johnson immediately coming out, and like you would think they'd be running the rock maybe, but they just were like, nah, we'll just keep going. And so he actually was out there throwing, but. Yeah, I mean, you can only really expect him to do so much when the game's online, and then before you knew it, that game was an absolute blowout. I think Indy. I mean, when you beat a game, when you beat a team like the Jets, like by that much, it's like okay, it seems a little bit like they're more on track to what was predicted, kind of going into the season. They're starting to actually hit a little bit of a stride here, but then you can't really even rate a game against the Jets well maybe you can, because the Jets have been upsetting good teams, but this is the kind of game that they will lose, because Colts are coming in and they look like a very kind of middling team. But I actually think a team that could be on that upswing to actually being able to make the playoffs. Definitely.
Well, and I think we'll talk about this more when we get into last week's slate in the Tennessee game. There's a door open now for them, right? The door's been opened a little bit, right? And I wonder if maybe Indy can go on a bit of a run. Not the toughest of schedules coming up, right? It's a very weird split for them the rest of the season. They still got 2 games against the Jaguars. They still got to play the Texans, but they also still have the Bills left and the Bucks, right? They still got to go to the Cardinals. They're probably gonna have to steal one of their tough games at least. And what could be a very interesting matchup in about a month or so against the Patriots, which could have major playoff implications. But yeah, the door's been opened up for them, and you look at the gap between them and the Titans, and it's probably too much, but we'll see. We'll see. There's a lot of questions left to be answered there. I look at back at that game and I go, man, Mike White. That dude led a drive on that first
Yeah.
series. He he might be the real deal. And
It,
it does make me wonder, let's say Mike White comes back next week and does what he's been doing for a game and a drive now and keeps it going. What do you do with Zach Wilson? Right? Do you think Mike White could be the guy? He looks. I made the Schneid remark at the Jets' behest that they would need the rebirth of Vinny Testaverde. He looks Testaverde-esque in the couple games he's played.
I mean, we'll see. I mean, it's kind of one of those things to where I don't think you can rate any quarterback really until maybe about 4 games. I
Yeah,
would
it's
say
fair.
at that point, teams like you're not catching a team when they're coming off the bench and they start looking real good. Um, Teams will have at least like a couple weeks of tape, and with the only thing I worry about with Mike White is this is a dude. He's been around what 3 years I think,
3 years,
um,
yeah.
and I guess the Jets have like cut him twice before or 3 times something like that. So he's been like on and off the team. No team's picking him up off like practice squad, which is absolutely with as many like third string quarterbacks that rotate around the league potentially. It's amazing that it doesn't seem like he was on anybody else's radar. And for a team that is as talent starved as the Jets, the fact that he's just finally kind of getting a call up um, after being in the situation to finally kind of, I guess, rising up to the 2 spot behind Wilson. Um, and I guess Flacco was out. So, like, naturally, that would have been the thought. Sorry. Yeah, no, Flacco, right? Flacco's over there with the Jets, correct?
Yeah. They
Yeah.
brought Flacco back.
So, like, I mean, I think that was the natural thought is anything happens to Wilson, Flacco's probably there. Mike White's kind of the almost an afterthought still at that point. So, I wonder, yeah, after you get some weeks of tape on him, if you get any like D coordinators really starting to pick apart, this is how this guy approaches the game, and when you haven't seen it, him really go out there before, you wonder if there is those kind of tells. There are those tells that that's gonna wear, yeah, 4 games in. We'll see if he's still able to put up drives like he's been able to, the numbers he's been able to going forward. But it's definitely cool to see. I mean, uh, I do like seeing those teams that really Bengals are kind of like, even though the Jets are one of the teams that have beaten the Bengals. Um, the Bengals are a perfect example. Like I as much as I don't have any affiliation to liking the Cincinnati Bengals, I like a team that has been struggling. Like if the Lions went on a tear this year, I'd been kind of rooting for them. Like, yeah, let's go Lions, let's get some wins. But yeah, we'll can we talk
Uh,
about our miss here?
okay, let's go
Oh,
back. Let's go back.
let's rewind here.
I
We
would like I would like to start off this conversation about a
formal apology,
pathetic Lions performance
formal
with
apology from us.
A formal apology, and B, excuse making.
Okay,
Uh, so
perfect.
yeah, we screwed up. Me and you were both quite bullish on the Lions getting their first win last week, and
I don't think I've whiffed so hard at a prediction. I'm like, yeah,
oh,
they'll
that
be
was
in
bad.
it. They're gonna get the win. Those guys, they don't suck, but the Lions, they suck just a little less, but apparently not.
I I felt really bad, but I watched Clickbait Sports this Monday after the games, and guess who they picked as their upset of the week to get their first win of the season? That's right, we were not alone on this.
Yeah,
The Lions felt like a really common pick looking around. A lot of people, A, look at this Eagles team and go, they stink.
yeah.
And B, looked at the way this Lions team fights at home, going, this might be the day. It was not the day.
I mean, I think it spoke more toward like the Lions have looked good and been in games multiple times.
Yes,
They've been within a field goal win twice this season
twice.
against teams
Good
they
teams.
really shouldn't be in there with. And it's as much of a reflection of kind of that. I think you had to kind of see that with the Lions. Like there was potential there, but also that yeah, the Eagles didn't look like shit. Sirianni just not, and then you have the back that you're not even really using. I guess so. It didn't matter to them. All of a sudden they start running the ball down their throat. You take it off of Jalen Hurd a little bit, and all of a sudden
Yeah.
look at that. They actually have
Yeah.
some fucking offense out of you would have never expected that Eagles team to put up 30 anything against any defense.
No. And, you look at the formula of success and what might be something going forward that they can cling to. Again, weak division, you string some wins together against those weak teams, you might be able to sneak into the playoffs. Boston Scott, Jordan Howard, Kenneth Gainwood ran the ball 37 times between the three of them.
It's incredible. Like
And Boston Scott and Jordan Howard in particular ran the ball really well.
I think you could take Sanders like top 3 games and he's probably maybe gotten that many carries, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't even
Yeah.
think that's the case. So
Um,
that's amazing. Like through one game, they just decided we're gonna run the ball since we lost our starter. Like
yeah.
I don't know
That's not
what
even
goes through that
counting.
motherfucker's mind. He's on another level, Sirianni. Like I don't
Yeah.
know what the fuck that and like did you hear his pregame speech shit? That shit was hilarious.
That was
He's talking about manure and fucking like plants growing and shit like that. And he's like, you're talking to fucking 20, 30-year-old adults with that like but they kind of responded, I guess. I don't know. It would be something if that team actually went out and did something in that, you know, at NFC East that we were actually saying the Giants actually might be the second best team. The Giants shouldn't be the second best team in that fucking division. So I hope, oh maybe yeah, the Eagles step up and they're actually able to be that. I imagine they would be at this point.
I we'll talk about the Giants obviously later. I'm not willing to count them out of that second best team in the race yet. But boy, did they look good running the ball. And Boston Scott's somebody I've liked for a while. Boston Scott's been one of those guys that I've always kind of been bullish on, like stash him in fantasy because he can break out, right? At any given moment,
Yeah,
Boston Scott could be a guy who breaks out.
great name.
He ran the ball well in that game. He's quick, but he's deceptively quick and freakishly strong, right? Like he doesn't go down.
He has the rare combination of first name city, last name first name.
First name, yeah, it's an
That's
interesting one.
I think you roll the dice with that guy. I mean, I just like him
Yeah,
based on the name, honestly. But yeah, Boston Scott, he's been a name. You know, he's been around.
yeah.
He's been able to carry the rock, and I don't think it it's kind of interesting in the because I think everything I was reading up to that point um, was that yeah, Boston Scott and whoever their other kind of back was back there, and they're going to do this kind of run by committee. But I was just like, but this is a team that doesn't run the ball, so who gives a shit? Like, and I've seen like names of those backs like popping up on like fantasy, like, hey, maybe take a chance on these Eagle running backs. I've owned Sanders in my fantasy league this season. He isn't doing shit, so why would I expect any Eagles running back? And there you go. What the hell? What? Come on, Sirianni, give me a fucking break. All right. um, any other games you were that pop out to you from the prior week that maybe we've missed or hit on here?
Uh, I I mean, we talked about our big miss. We were dead on the nose with that Chiefs Giants
Yeah.
game. We called that thing a mile away. We're gonna take the blame for that. Let's give ourselves some credit here. We said it the whole way. Chiefs will probably win, but the Giants are gonna keep that thing damn close.
Yeah.
And the Chiefs continue to be the curious case of what the fuck are they doing? I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah.
How do you have that much talent on a team? That much wide receiver depth, that much quarterback arm talent, and just continue to do nothing with it. They threw the ball 48 times, and half of them from Mahomes looked like dead balls. It was
I
it's crazy. He's not even the same guy this year.
Because that offensive line is completely different. This is what I was bringing up last week, and I think it really is starting to get to that team. They cannot rely on that offensive line to do the same things that they had before. And yeah, I think it just trickles down. Like, okay, Mahomes feels more pressures. If any team's able to get there, and that's the one thing I kind of brought up with the Giants. I'm not too sure what their defensive numbers exactly look like in that game. Take a look right now, but if you get to Mahomes, and you can do that with this fucking offensive line, this Garbo offensive line they put together for him. If you get there, he will eventually make a mistake. It seems like that's almost inevitable. Like the amount of picks and that sort of thing, he will force stuff. You can get him to do that. And so, yeah, it looks like as far as like pure like only a couple sacks actually from the Giants defense. Obviously, just the one pick from Julian Love, but they're gonna keep teams like the Giants in games with them. And like I was saying last week, they could get away with doing that because it was just like they were always able to flip the switch on with the offense. But I don't think you have that when you have the offensive line just getting beat up as they do. They just can't. They can't do that the same way, and they have to. And their defense is pretty pitiful.
Yeah, and
So very
only two
pitiful.
QB sacks, but I got 12 QB hits here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. So they might not have gotten to him to get him down. And Mahomes has always been great at getting the ball away, evading the sack, kind of doing what he can with it, but he
Yeah.
got hit 12 times,
Yeah.
man. It
Yeah.
is he
And
just
and that's what's you're gonna see that you're throwing 48 times. You're not even completing 30 of those. So just a lot of bad patches in situations where you just have to you're getting moved, and when you get moved, you cut yourself off from the field. I think Mahomes has always been able to. I don't know. I felt like in seasons past he was able to just kind of make those plays work a little bit better because I don't know. You were able to. His offensive line was like he would roll out from time to time, but it was more I felt like by design, and now it feels like no, I just need to get the hell out of here because I'm about to get sacked. So I think they're gonna have this problem throughout the year.
yeah, and then they make the kind of peculiar trade deadline move of trading Laurent Duvernay-Tardif, who I know hasn't seen a lot of the field this year, but was your starting right guard the last time you won the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
Is definitely a guy who, worst case scenario, injury comes up on that already porous offensive line. You'd like to have a nice stopgap back there.
yeah,
And it's not like they got a premium pick for it. Sixth rounder, I'd have stashed Duvernay Tardif over that.
absolutely.
Uh, it interesting. I don't know what's going on there. There's only one other trade of note, really, at the trade deadline. Well, two, and we'll kind of talk about them, I think, as we talk about those teams. But that Duvernay Tardif trade caught me right off guard because I'm with you. I feel like that Chiefs offensive line has been horrendous this season. And you would imagine, you have a veteran guy like that on your bench who's ready to step in and can be relied upon, and you trade him for nothing. You better hope that line can hold up because now you have no depth on it, along with it already being kind of porous.
Yeah,
I don't know. It was a weird call for me.
I think a little bit of the writing was on the wall with this one, just because
Yeah.
because it's not so much like I think the teams that do very well with the offensive line because you're not always going to be able to keep the same five guys, but you keep the same three, four guys, right, and maybe rotate in a young guy or something like that. And
Dallas Cowboys, prime example of that.
offense, yeah, an offensive line is individuals obviously can stand out. you need, if you're a right-handed quarterback, you need that strong left tackle. Obviously, you protect my blind side. Reliable center that can at least get you the ball, that sort of thing. And if you like to kind of run or you like run stunts, that sort of thing, your guards are going to be plenty important in being able to stunt over and slide over protection. But so individuals will always have their roles, but obviously that's a 5-man unit working together. And when you throw in 5 guys fresh that haven't worked together before like that, there's going to be some growing pains. And I think it takes a season. I don't know if this is something they could turn around. Those guys might have individual talent up the wazoo, but like if they can't get together with the 5 of them, then yeah, Mahomes is going to feel those pressures, and the Chiefs aren't going to win nearly as many games as people expected.
No, and then the question becomes how long can you hold on to guys like Tyreek Hill, Mecole Hardman, uh, Travis Kelsey? If you start to be a fringe playoff team, you start missing playoffs, which the Chiefs very well could, by the way. Their upcoming schedule, not very friendly. Um, you get to that point and you got to wonder, like, can they hold on to Tyreek Hill? Can they hold on to Travis Kelsey? A year ago, we were talking about a potential dynasty team. It's interesting, right? Because we might be getting to a point here if they can't fix these offensive line problems and figure out that they need to play this game a little bit smarter than they are,
Yeah.
that team could explode in front of our eyes.
Yeah, I mean, maybe not so much explode as they're just not going to be to that level. Like, I see this as, I mean, it's hard to say because you got to expect that it's going to be interesting for the Raiders going forward. The Chargers have been very wishy washy. Would have, like I said last week, you would have thought that if it wasn't the Chiefs taking that division, it would have been the Chargers, and I think they could still kind of turn it up. But the Raiders, yeah, you got to wonder if they're going to be able to hold. Um,
We'll talk about the Raiders.
oh
I
yeah.
got some things to say about the Raiders.
Well, I mean, this is it's pretty tragic. But we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Um, I just see that's the thing. If the Chiefs aren't, this might be the game. I mean, Green Bay is this one coming up. Um, Green Bay, like if Jordan Love can go out there and
All out.
I think shock us, but that Green Bay team, like they're on such an upswing. God, I mean, a
Are they really, though?
a
I
jump,
know they had that big win against the Cardinals.
man.
I still have a lot of question marks around this Green Bay team. I really do.
What is the Kansas City Chiefs defense going to do if they just start handing the rock to Aaron Jones? And his name's slipping my mind for some reason.
Boy, that is a question,
Dylan,
isn't it? Yeah, AJ Dillon.
Dylan, that dude's falling forward constantly. Like they might have just enough. You got Devontae coming back, so they're not going to be like hampered at receiver like they were for that game. Off of long week, right? They played Thursday night, so
Yeah.
they got the long week.
And hey, new issue number 2, the Chiefs have to deal with. Jordan Love ran the ball 170 times in college.
Yeah,
The guy is willing to run
I
and
mean,
scramble. Ran an RPO offense essentially in
what's the over under
Utah
on
State.
Jordan Love bootlegs? Because I wanna say I'm going with like that kid's probably rolling out at least 6-7 times out of the boot. Cause yeah, you stick Jones Dillon back there if they're going like run heavy, which I think they could absolutely do. You catch them slipping, and you'll either give Jordan Love a nice little like run up kind of throw to be able to deal with, or he can just take it himself. This,
And like I know Rodgers is sneaky mobile, but Jordan Love's legitimate mobile.
yeah, yeah,
And there is a difference
he's
there.
got legs. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Um
we'll talk specifics, I suppose, but I suppose I think you might know where I'm leaning on that Packers Chiefs
yeah, I
game.
think we're kind of leaning the same way on that one, to be honest with you, the more that I talk through it. But going back to last week, there is something big we need to talk about. and that is a very, 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 very Pyrrhic Titans victory. Um, yeah, they beat the Colts. Congratulations. Derrick Henry's done. Uh, holy shit. The Titans would have taken a loss there to keep Derrick Henry, right? 100%. If you give him the choice, you will lose that game to the Colts, and you will keep Derrick Henry for the rest of the season.
No, I
They
mean,
would gladly take the L there.
yeah, I mean, yeah. See, ifs and buts are candy and nuts, that sort of thing. Because like running back, like what's to say he wouldn't be out there this next week and you get injured in the first quarter. Now you took the L, and now you're probably taking another L. Well, not really.
They're taking another L this week, anyways. I hate to pre tell you my prediction.
No, this
The
is fine.
Rams are beating them. This is gonna happen. Without Derrick Henry, I have zero faith in Ryan Tannehill to lead that offense without Derrick Henry.
I think you might.
Adrian Peterson is not the same guy he was in 2011.
We'll
Let's be
see.
real.
I think your feelings about Ryan Tannehill are my feelings about Kirk Cousins. Basically, I think that might be.
They're the same quarterback
They are.
in my head.
They're
They're the same quarterback.
a little bit, a little bit. Um,
I I don't know. Yeah, it was a great win for the Titans, and I'm sure they are feeling happy about it. AJ Brown went off, man.
that's the
Woo!
thing. That's the thing.
But
Is they got receivers like they're gonna get there. It's like they're gonna get open, and Tannehill's been willing to sling it to him. You can't give him any
yeah,
fault for that. Like he's willing to give them the ball, and so
uh,
they look great. I think their offense. I mean, yeah. The thing is, like, you're just not gonna have that workload. Obviously, from Derrick Henry, they're not gonna give like McNichols and stuff that kind of workload. So, how does that offense operate? Like, do you want Tannehill throwing 40 plus passes? Probably not. Probably not if you could avoid it, but I don't know what else they could really go with. Like,
and you
I
run
think
the
you
ball
have
with
to.
Adrian Peterson 20 plus times a game like you did with Derrick Henry and feel confident in it. I don't know.
AP
I
just coming off the hammock, and nah. I apparently, I guess, like, it's Adrian Peterson, so he's probably keeping in pretty damn good shape, ready to
Oh, I
go.
guarantee you Adrian Peterson's ready to go,
It's
and
Yeah, I don't know
AD
still.
will ball out to the best of his abilities, but we're not dealing with the same Adrian Peterson anymore,
Yeah,
right? This is an older man now as far as running backs go, and I don't I don't know if he's coming off the free agent list at 36 and running the ball as well as you would like him to.
no, but you know what? Henry didn't really run the ball well last week.
To be fair,
Dude can average
he
2.5 yards a
also
carry, so the Colts came
he
up.
he also had a broken foot.
Well, yeah, but I mean that.
I think we got to give him more credit for running for 68 on a broken foot
Why is he running the ball 28 times?
because that's all Tennessee
That's a
can do.
problem. See, the thing is, like,
This is my Tannehill argument. If Derrick Henry isn't doing that, the Titans don't win games, right? And I don't know if I look at that Titans team now and go, yeah, Ryan Tannehill's just gonna pick up that ball and run with it. As pardon the pun on that, by the way. It's not gonna happen. I don't see it. I think the Titans are in a bad way and have a bad schedule to be in a bad way with. I don't know if you've seen the Titans' upcoming schedule. Doesn't look fun. They go to LA to face the Rams, then come home for the Saints, get the Texans in between there, which is a nice reprieve, and then the Patriots, who we'll talk about them in a bit too, are absolutely on fire right now. I, I don't know, man. I don't, I don't see this working out well for the Titans.
I mean, you're talking about a 6-2 team right here. Um, I mean, yeah, perhaps going away to LA. Yeah, you can see that as a loss. New Orleans, they look good against Tampa Bay. That's a win. That's real nice for them. They seem to have Brady's number. Apparently, like seeing those head-to-head stats, like New
That
Orleans
was
seems to have
crazy
them.
during the game. I didn't believe that.
It's fucking
One
nuts.
and three versus the Saints.
So like they're getting them within their division. That sort of thing. New Orleans is, but that is that 5-2 is very deceiving. They are a very inconsistent team. So who knows what kind of New Orleans they're going to see in a couple of weeks. Houston gave me. And yeah, New England. The thing with New England is, I wonder like how much they can. Because yeah, I mean I don't know. They just feel like that 500 team. Like I think they'll be fine. I don't think they're a bad team by any regards, but I don't know if they're really gonna pop off, like really do something down the line here. It's the it's not the worst division to, I suppose, tempt it, but I don't know. Um,
I also have trouble gauging the Saints, and I guess we'll just hop into that Saints Bucks game. Um, yeah, they they were full value for that win, and yeah, for some reason Tom Brady can't beat the Saints. But I'm with you. They're the weirdest 5-2 team I can remember.
yeah,
They got the brakes beaten off of them by the Panthers after beating the brakes off of the Packers, right? Win at Foxborough against the Patriots, then lose at home to the Giants. It's the weirdest team.
I think. Let's be honest here. I think. Uh, is there like some sort of like power source that, like, I think Christian McCaffrey, like he's in there, and that team does like they go, but then like as soon as he's gone, they're gonna be fine players around him, that sort of thing. But that everything, all the energy goes off that team once he's gone. It's just like there's something paranormal about how bad that team is now
And
after
listen, but
after
let's
Liz
not
gone.
talk about that because if we do talk about that, then we have to talk about the fact that they beat my Falcons last week.
Yes.
So so we'll not talk about that. We'll
No.
just pretend that didn't happen. We'll pretend that Matt Ryan's fine. That the stat I brought up last week about him looking really good against three of the worst off defenses in the NFL and then playing a good defense and that crashing back down. We're gonna pretend that that didn't happen. Okay, we're just gonna put that in a box. We're gonna label it things I don't want to deal with. Falcons stink. Um, I do want to say really quickly, Calvin Ridley. Prayers out to him, man.
No.
Don't know what he's going through, but I hope he gets it figured out
Yeah.
and that, one day we can see him come back, not because I'm a Falcons fan and I want to see my Falcons be better, but because Calvin Ridley's really good at the thing that he does. And if he finds some kind of peace and love in that, then I want him to do it and ball out the way that Calvin Ridley can. So let's start with that. Falcons stink. Matt Ryan's arm is dead. It's dead. I don't know what to tell you. 20 passes for 146 yards. Like it's dead. He can't throw the ball past 20 yards with any kind of accuracy anymore. This is what the Falcons are, and it's going to be rough down the stretch because that Panthers game uh was one of the last easy games they got. So they got to be ready to finish like 5-12 and then look at this draft class and realize shit, there's no quarterbacks. Um, it's it's rough. I don't know. I feel pain.
I mean, that's a game that they're dawdling there. That's a 10-9 game until you get to about the end of the third, right? Or yeah, about that.
Yeah.
Um, and then so yeah, they're right there toward the end of the game.
I don't know.
I like that they run
I
the rock a decent amount. You know, it's like you get Davis and Cordell Patterson getting touches. Like they're doing decent with that, but yeah, that's you would figure that should have been a
that
pretty easy dub for them.
and it's not like Sam Darnold went out there and played well.
No,
It's not even they ran the ball a lot, but Chuba Hubbard wasn't beating the brakes off of him, right? 3.4 average is okay, right? You're not going to be running down the street in joy over a 3.4 average, right? It's not bad, but it, the Falcons defense continued to do what it's done for a lot of the year and maybe hasn't gotten enough respect for, which is, you know, against good offenses, they will fall. But if you're not a good offense, they're going to find ways to contain you. And they did that. And I don't know. Matt Ryan, uh, I will forever be in Matt Ryan camp. I think there was a time in the uh, early 2010s to mid 2010s where he was one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the NFL. He's now just an old man with an old man arm, and it's sad. You want to go to another game we got right? Want to feel better about our predicting power? Steelers Browns.
oh yeah, um,
We called that one, right? I think we both kind of said the same thing. The Browns are beat up, and if the Steelers are willing to give the ball to Najee Harris against that really, really beat up Browns line, they're gonna have a chance to win this game. And they did. Najee Harris played a great game. And oof, the Browns. I don't know. I don't know what they are this year. I don't know if it's injuries or if they just stink.
yeah, I mean, obviously, like, yeah, you get the injuries to Baker. That's gonna hurt. I think their defense is a lot less than um, what they were expecting it to be. That's for damn sure.
And again, I go back to the Browns' defensive injuries for a part of that, though, right? Like we mentioned it, three of their four starting offensive linemen were at the very least coming into that game hurt. I know Tack McKinley didn't end up playing. Um, I know Jadeveon Clowney, I think, did end up playing, but didn't really look like himself. That defensive line is banged up,
Yeah,
and it caused them problems in that game, right? Najee Harris, right? Again, the average doesn't blow your mind, but what they did with Najee Harris was they just kept giving it to him, right? And they let him slowly break down the Browns defense, and he did. Easily the best game Najee Harris has played. I'd like to take a second to publicly lambaste Pittsburgh's play calling. What the fuck was that Chris Boswell thing?
it's when the fake doesn't work, and it's kind of crazy when like because I think there's the ability to um, easily fall asleep on those or easily over pursue. So you obviously think that someone's gonna fuck up. They're gonna get those long crossing routes, um, and but then yeah, it's not there initially, and then Boswell just keeps holding on the goddamn ball, and it's like,
He's a
bro,
kicker. He doesn't have pocket presence. He's a kicker. This is why you don't let kickers throw the ball. I'm sorry, I'm not being very for the brand here, but like kickers kick, quarterbacks throw.
in a way, I guess I would agree with that. Obviously, like stick to that. I like the tenacity. Like that play can work. It can work beautifully. We've seen it before. Um, I think with Boswell, you have to just like you have to recognize like okay, you just huck that thing up, and you do it maybe two steps earlier, so you don't get absolutely demolished. Because the thing is, like, it's interesting when you have quarterbacks that like won't slide and shit like that. And I kind of know well with we got Jimmy G just he goes shoulder down into
Yeah.
fucking linebackers. That dude's insane, right? I've never seen like I didn't think that that was gonna be the main thing he went for this season, but he has done it like 3 4 times this season, where he goes to run the ball and there is no thought of him sliding. He goes down, shoulder roll, like he's going down, like he's not trying to like drive for yards really, but my point being like quarterbacks usually are pretty good about getting down.
They,
They'll get the calls, if the
yeah.
defensive player fucks up, and their role is so important that like if you go down and you force a backup to come in because you were too aggressive and you want to pick up an extra couple yards, that's going to cost your team dearly. I think it's almost as bad when the kicker.
I
Because
was
if
gonna say,
you take a kicker out of it, you take all sorts of options away. You can't kick the ball off properly, potentially. You can't go for
well,
any of those field goals that you can potentially. And in a game like that, an ugly ass game like that, it's almost amazing that you could lose Boswell and still win an ugly ass 15-10 game.
yeah.
You have to have a lot of other things working right for you.
Well, and to your point, we saw the kickoff problem when Presley Harvin kicked one out of bounds at the start of the second half, right? Like,
Yeah.
I, to me, I look at that play and I go, does the reward outweigh the risk? And to me, the reward of that play is obviously you get a big gain, potentially a touchdown
Yeah.
if the defense is napping. The risk is what we saw, which is you lose your kicker and now you are unable to kick field goals. You are unable to kick off properly. Extra points become an adventure, right?
Yeah.
Like to me, I don't know if that risk outweighs the reward. If you want to go for it there, go for it. I have no problem with that. The Unless you are very confident in your kicker's throwing ability, unless in practice it's one of those things where this guy's throwing darts, he's throwing lasers, he's got the presence of a quarterback,
Yeah.
you feel really comfortable with it, just don't do it.
Yeah.
Just don't do it.
I mean, you're talking about low percentages for both those scenarios, right?
Yeah.
And I guess the thing is, it feels like it's so much less of a thing that the kicker is gonna get obliterated and injured on that play. You would hope that it's enough of a more percentage chance that this will be a completion that you're looking for to get a first down and keep a drive going.
Yeah.
That you put in that risk, but obviously, yeah, if you were to weigh the two against each other, yeah, you take the kicker. You keep the kicker every time. But
Yeah.
that was, that's worst case scenario. It's um, yeah, I lack of obviously doing it. You're not doing reps as a kicker, throwing the ball and feeling that, and you got to credit a Cleveland special teams that
Yeah, they
didn't
were ready
slip up
for
in
it.
that play.
They were ready for it.
Very easy. I mean, I feel like that's very easy, especially on because that was when they lined up. What was that? Like it would have been a 40 or 50 yarder.
It was well within Boswell's range. I can't remember for sure.
Yeah. So
It was somewhere between 40 and 50. It
so
was well within Boswell's range.
so edge guys are looking for that. They're like, oh yeah, all right, I'm getting off the edge. This ball's probably gonna come in a little low, like block opportunity. Um, if it's long enough, you're potentially even having a guy go way deep back there to even receive it if you think it's going to be that long. Obviously, that's well within Boswell's range. If he misses it, he's probably missing it a direction, left or
Yeah,
right,
he's
not
pulling it
short.
or pushing it rather than putting it
Unless the
short.
wind's really blowing in or some shit, right? Um, so yeah, I mean, like it's when it's within that range, that's some pretty good discipline. At least that's maybe one thing you can take away for Cleveland. At least the
Oh, big
special
credit
team.
to the Browns on that play for sure for keeping their discipline and reading the play as it happened, right?
Yeah,
Being able to see, hey, that receiver there's peeling off. He might be looking for a route. Somebody get out there and cover him, right?
yeah,
Like being able to have that kind of discipline on special teams. And again, I think that comes from having a coach who has come from a special teams background in the past, right? Kevin Stefanski's obviously coached special teams in the past. So I imagine that special teams team is pretty well drilled.
But yeah, ultimately, you take a look at that game from the outside, and without maybe that play, what are we doing out here? 15-10. Come on now.
It was bad. It
Come
was
on now.
bad. This week on a whole was bad. Let's just gloss over a couple of the bad games and get into some of the more interesting ones. Bills beat the Dolphins. Shock.
Yeah.
Rams beat the Texans. Shock. That 38-22 scoreline, by the way, very flattering to the Texans.
Sure.
The Rams gave up when they were up 38-0, and the Texans put up a couple touchdowns and felt good about themselves. Um, let's just gloss over the Seahawks and Jaguars and pretend like I didn't say I thought the Jaguars had a chance of winning that game. James,
Yeah. I
I will
would have
preface
liked
this
it they did, but
I
no.
will preface this by saying James Robinson getting hurt in the first quarter fucked over my entire idea of how that game would go.
No.
Um, Broncos beat the emails. That game was awful the whole way around. Oh, that game might have been worse than the Steelers Browns game as far as how well the game was played.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think that's it for the really bad ones. Let's talk about your Niners and why the Bears haven't fired Matt Nagy yet. What? Did you not see how well Justin Fields played in that game? Matt Nagy's still coaching?
Uh,
What are we doing?
well, you know, that's one of those games. I think Fields at least like that offense has looked completely dead prior,
Yes.
right? And so yeah, you get Fields. He just it's it, these kind of quarterbacks have been Achilles heel a little bit for the Niners defenses last few
That's true.
years.
That's true.
NFC West is tough as nails for one reason for our defenses as of late is that we have these mobile quarterbacks that we had to deal with. We've had Wilson for years, and now it's Murray as well, and um, I'll call out one guy, and I hate to do this because I like him in general. I think he's definitely a solid pickup, marquee player. He's the guy who you put on front of your tickets. Exciting. My boy Bosa.
Yeah, I
My
thought you were
boy
gonna call out Bosa on
Nick
that.
Bosa. If there's one thing that he will do is if you do a play action fake and the quarterback rolls out the other side on a boot, he will go after that goddamn running back 99% of the time. He just hunts, and it's great for like those teams that are when he does great when they're calling to his defensive style. But goddamn, he cannot contain the edge, and he gets beat constantly on that. And they just kept running to his side. They're just like, it's definitely gonna be something that he's gonna. I think he'll just learn discipline. I mean, still damn young, right? So
Of
I
course.
think that'll come
And
with it. He'll learn to stay home every now and then because you don't need to be going after because the running back's like running away from him. So if he's getting that tackle anyways, he's gonna have to get a good angle across the line, right? And he's good at doing that. But you just have to know you are the edge. You are that outside presence right there, unless we're dropping in a linebacker or something to really hold that. So, and we tend not to. We tend not to on Bosa's side because he has that ability to go around the edge. We keep him on that edge.
well,
So
yeah, one thing I noticed too was starting in about the second half, the Niners got really focused on playing contain, right? They felt comfortable that if they could keep Fields in the pocket, they could beat him. And they were probably right about that.
yeah,
But I think there was two plays in particular that I really saw where Nick Bosa got beat on contain. He was playing contain and for one reason or another just got overly aggressive. Fields was able to get around him to the edge, and that's going to be a big gain every time because he's once you get around contained like that, you're getting into the secondary.
And
Another player who I felt definitely didn't have a good enough game is Eric Armstead, and that's becoming a growing concern for me. Is Eric Armstead's play on the line has also not been up to the level you need it to be. San Francisco's a team that's going to rely a lot on their defense at times, and uh, you know, Bose is young, and I get that, and he will learn a lot of things, but San Francisco's in a playoff race, right? These guys need to step up a bit.
yeah, yeah, Armstead. I mean, I think that's been amongst kind of my friends, Niners fans, that sort of thing. He's always been kind of a um, how are how much of a leash are we going to keep giving him? Because yeah, the numbers don't usually pop out too much, and yeah, he has the potential to make mistakes. Um, I like some of the depth pieces that we do have on the line, so I'm wondering like the rotation numbers and really how many snaps some of these guys are seeing. Um, I like Contavious Street. I like Arden Key, um, Hufanga. Uh,
And uh, just brought in Charles Omenihu, obviously, from
yeah.
the Texans, who's another edge rusher, another piece to that line that you can add. Yeah,
So I
I,
think
I actually really like the pickup of Omenihu for them. They got him on dirt cheap. He was a beast coming out of Texas, and if you can get him playing for you, that could be a steal of a pickup. We'll see how he fits in, but I really like the pickup of Charles Omenihu.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think it's just just another piece to
Yeah,
definitely add in there, and I think as as our defense, still going through a first year with a coordinator right now, so I think it's kind of a learning under fire sort of situation. Um, I think they're getting stronger as a whole generally, because yeah, some defensive lapses maybe in that front seven with that mobile quarterback. That's gonna happen. I think the more they realize it. I mean, obviously, Fields has the legs to be able to do it. I think he'll get his numbers from time to time. I don't think he's completely inept back there, as that offense have shown completely inept. Again, maybe more Nagy than anything. Calling to maybe his destination sometime. But one thing I will say, nicely done. I love how when you do start running that contain, and you're trying to limit Fields as much as possible, even though he's still going to get out and get his. You need a secondary that's able to be able to step up. They played very well. I mean,
yes,
Josh Norman uh, not looking too shabby. Finally got that pick that I called for the week before with
I
the
was
Colts.
honestly gonna say I thought Josh Norman played his best game as a Niner last week.
Yeah,
Uh,
solid 7 tacks pick.
got the pick. I Justin Fields had trouble getting the ball to Marquise Godwin too, or Goodwin too, and that in itself was a success for Josh Norman because they had Norman posted on Goodwin most of that game, and they kind of said, "Listen, Marquise Goodwin is not going to beat us, right?" And they forced them to use their other receivers, and let's face it, the Bears don't have much depth at receiver, right?
And then just one other point, and then we could kind of, dude, in when it really came down to it, I mean, our offensive line, that we're talking about the secondary having their best game. That was our offensive line's best game of the season. Garoppolo, plenty of time to work for the most
Yep.
part, slung it. Garoppolo, Jimmy G's one, potentially best game of the season. No tutties, unfortunately, but run the rock, slinging it, getting the yards when you needed, and the fucking truth, Eli Mitchell.
I was gonna say they finally let Elijah Mitchell out of the doghouse.
Man, finally. I don't know. I don't know how much they plan on continuing this right now. I think they do want to keep working Hasty in here, but you can't deny like Mitchell has it. He has the fucking juice. When he gets the ball, that they're going, and it's absolutely Mostert-esque. And so I hope they keep that going. And I like gritty Jimmy, dude. Put that shoulder down, get that touchdown. Like I love the way he played that last game. Risky, and then of course, yeah, you're looking at a pretty damn good game from Debo. Ayuk finally getting some catches. So
The consistent one on that receiving core, right? Sanu, Ayuk, they all seem to come and go with time, but Debo Samuel's going to get his every game. You know
Debo
that. You can bank on it.
Debo beating Jerry Rice records. So let's fucking go, Debo
Yeah,
Samuel.
you can bank on Debo for sure. Um, I also in that Elijah Mitchell game, another guy who just doesn't get enough credit, and maybe it's the old school football fan in me, but give it up for Kyle Juszczyk in that game, man.
Oh yeah,
Juice was doing his thing in that game.
yeah.
When they spent half of that game in forms of the eye, putting Mitchell behind Juszczyk, right? And dude was clearing lanes. The old school football fan in me
It's
fucking loves to see that I formation pop out, that power I,
yeah.
get the fullback out there and let him clear a path. And Kyle Juszczyk is, I mean, easily the best fullback in football right now. I don't even think there's much of a question. But man, he's a player for him.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's a reason they got him back.
Yeah,
They made sure to bring Juice back because I think while he doesn't see the numbers offensively all the time, like I think that last game, one catch, right? But he has shown he can be a threat in that. You could send him out there and he can be a nice little dump off option. But yeah, this team goes with the run. If they can run the rock, everything opens up. This is what I brought up last week. And it's why it was very strange that they went away from the run game against the Colts in a terrible weather game in which you'd expect the run to be
yeah.
your centerpiece. Like that it
Just
has to
felt like
come
a
out.
running back game there.
And Jimmy's shown it. Like, just put me under center. Let me run some play action, and this team goes. And it's. I think it's something that Shanahan's finally seeing maybe this year. That like, yeah, man, we just run this son of a bitch out of the eye. Like, I don't know how many times Jimmy needs to really take snaps out of the shotgun right now. I don't think it's too necessary. Um, but we'll see. We'll see with. I know they got some tough teams coming up. Um, as far as the in division stuff, I believe, and I know down the line we have folks like the Titans. That could be very interesting games, even though might not have
Instinct now.
the D the D Henry back there, but those still games that are going to be tricky. And then obviously we got the Cards coming up, but Cards, no D Hop, no Kyler Murray. It's looking like this could be a nice little win for us as we get us back to 500 against a team that otherwise been looking pretty damn good until they lost for the first time last week. So we'll see.
App, who wants to be a millionaire? Your $1 million question. Could you get this right?
Hmm.
Are the Patriots a good team? Yes or no?
Um,
They are this fascinating case of a team that has not really been blown out this year. Played some good teams really tight, and also played some bad teams really tight.
yeah.
I, what are they? Is this a playoff team? Let's start with that. Are they a playoff team? Do you think?
I think right now they're around the outside looking in, I believe. Um, It's a great win against the Chargers, obviously.
Oh, of
Um,
course. If the playoffs were to start today, they would
they'd be up.
miss. The Steelers would get in ahead of them.
Yeah, I mean, you got a couple teams that have had buys and stuff, so it doesn't quite
Yeah.
equal out. But granted, this is a team that shouldn't be. They shouldn't be as good as they are right now. I mean, record wise, they really shouldn't. You would expect a lot of these teams to actually do better. And honestly, if I'm kind of sticking with what I said before, with I think the Colts are actually a playoff team. Um,
Could be.
I don't. Yeah, honestly, I don't see the Chiefs doing it. I can see Cleveland maybe bouncing back, maybe.
In that division, though,
I don't think anytime soon. Cincinnati has dropped some bad games. That's the only thing that's worrying. They've looked great, but they have
the
dropped.
curious
They've
case of
dropped
the
some.
Bengals, man.
Yeah, they've dropped some bad ones, and so the Bengals looking like the Bengals in that regard. Like, and with the Steelers, kind of that it'll be very interesting. I think once we take a look at this picture, maybe 3 weeks down the line,
Yeah, that
because
AFC playoff picture is going to be a particular dogfight. Which, by the way, the NFC one's going to be a dogfight too, but they're going to be dogfights in very different ways. Which I think I mentioned last week. I think a team's going to back their way into the NFC playoff race.
see,
Um,
I see.
Whereas in the AFC, I think you need 10 wins.
Yeah, and see, this is the thing. I see them getting the win this week against a Panther team that they just no.
They're coming off of a big win, man. I'm telling you, those Panthers are legit.
I think that next week, the week after this one's game against the Browns, incredibly telling. Like that might be an that might be the early look right there. Because if they're able to take that game against the Browns and look pretty good doing it, you gotta think they could. But then they get the Falcons away. As much as like you hate, the Falcons, they didn't look good in that loss against the
Fine,
Panthers.
fine. Trust me, fine.
I don't know. I'm a little on the fence with that game, honestly. And then I just see them lose four straight, but with a bye week in between. I think they lose against the Titans, even without Derrick Henry. I think they lose against the Bills, bye week, lose against the Colts, lose against the Bills again. Um,
Can I be honest with you?
yeah,
I look at that stretch, and I could easily see the Patriots going 3-1 through there.
yeah. I
Yeah.
I don't. I see 0-4. That's my prediction on that, anyways. That stretch
Um,
for them, and then they might be able to pick up a couple wins at the end that might be able to salvage it, because they're going to play stinkers against the Jags in Miami. So it kind of lines up nicely for them. Like maybe Miami could play that classic spoiler they have to the Pats before, but
they love spoiling the Patriots party.
you gotta love that that's the last game they have, Week 18, and
I
they get the
thought,
Dolphins. But yeah,
I thought they looked so impressive this week. I was big on the Mac Jones train going into the draft. I think so far this year he's looked like by far the best quarterback of this draft. Uh, he's the game against the Chargers, he wasn't particularly fantastic, but he didn't make any key mistakes. He let Justin Herbert shoot himself in the foot, and he just passed him the gun, right? All Mac Jones did was manage the game. He played it smart. He looks like a quarterback who belongs in the NFL. And is he the best quarterback in the NFL right now? No. But he looks like he belongs, which for most of the season I haven't said about Justin Fields. Trevor Lawrence looks like he's seeing ghosts out there, a la Sam Darnold.
Hmm.
Mac Jones so far has looked a cut above the rest of his class. Will that last? We'll see. But I think he's got the right coach to help him.
well,
He's got the right system to help him. I really think this Patriots team is a playoff team.
I mean, cut above his class. Who could be that surprised by that though? I think Mac Jones was predicted as being kind of the most pro ready.
Mm, a lot of
I
people would have argued Trevor Lawrence was the most pro ready.
Yeah, but he's going to the Jags, so he's gonna like that. That's not gonna
Yeah,
like that's
no, and
that
I'm
shit's not
not
gonna work.
putting that on Trevor Lawrence, but
But I
uh,
mean, but he's not gonna look that good. That's just inevitable going to that team in his first year. That's just not gonna look good.
yeah, no, Mac Jones was definitely highest floor, lowest ceiling to a lot of people.
Um, yeah, and so I feel like that's it. And he went to pretty much the just about the most ideal scene. I would say if you're talking about that player going to that system. Um, he's going to get snaps immediately. Um, they're going to keep him pretty measured. I mean, his numbers don't pop out necessarily to you. Like he's throwing for about 250, and for a touchdown and a half versus a touchdown as far as ratio. So he won't lose them games, most
Nope.
likely. Seems like, and that might not that'll work, but I think that works for a Patriots team that will probably go 9-8 and
Mm,
be out of the playoffs. That's my feeling.
that's
Like that's a good team, but they're not. I don't think they're there yet. Myself, that's my
Yeah,
feeling. I
no,
think
and that works with your own four stretch in the middle there. That would put them at exactly 9-8
yeah.
if they won the other five in there.
And then finishing out
Which
with two. The thing is, like, who knows? Who knows? Like, maybe 9-8 could act. I mean, we've seen 500 teams been able to get in the playoffs. So,
I think
what's to
I
say a
think
nine
they're
and
in the
eight?
wrong conference for that.
Sure,
I
that
I
has
I
worked on the
don't.
NFC side, right?
Yeah, I don't think the AF like you look at it right now. You got
AFC is very middling right
two,
now.
three, four. You got four teams who are in wild card spots right now who are above 500, right? Um, and you got to imagine the Chiefs are gonna push that 500 line. Right? Like, surely their talent pushes them somewhere above 500.
Does
I
it?
think I
When you're bad,
I just don't
at
want to say that they
if you're
suck
bad
and
on
then they're
the
gonna do a Chiefs thing where they win like 12 straight and I look like an idiot. But I'm with you. I think they're bad. But
when you
I
have like five weapons and then your offensive line stinks and your defense stinks, what are you gonna do? I don't know if the Chiefs got it this year, man. I don't know. I
I
don't.
do think the Browns turn it around to an
Yes.
extent. I think injuries have decimated them. I think that 4-4 is very unfair to the talent they have. I think they end up being above 500.
Yeah.
I think the Colts probably end up being above 500. I think the Bengals stay above 500. I think the Chargers or Raiders, whoever doesn't win that division, is also above 500. I don't see a sneaky 500 team in this AFC.
So yeah. Then
Um,
Pat's out. That's how I see it. I mean, like, so I
yeah,
think they're
no, that's
right there,
fair.
and they could easily be the seventh team.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying.
They could
I
easily,
just
but
I don't think that stretch is going to go as bad for the Patriots as you do, and that's really where the difference comes in, right? If
yeah,
you honestly look at that tough stretch, which is tough, and think they're going to go 0-4 in that tough stretch, they're not going to make the playoffs.
yeah.
Even if they pull 2-2 out of that, they're going to have a good shot. I think the only game left to really talk about is well, okay, no, hold on. We talked about the Jets Monday night game. Really quickly, let's bow down to Mike White, the second coming of Vinny Testaverde. Uh, Bengals. I don't know what happened there. I don't want to throw them away yet because I think they'll be fine. But man, that was a weird one.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, that's yeah. It's a surprising one. You can't let him go for 400. I don't know what the hell happened to that
He's just the reincarnation
Bengals
of Vinny
defense.
Testaverde.
Yeah.
I know Vinny Testaverde's still alive, but his soul has been passed on to Mike White.
What did Vinny Testaverde ever throw for 400? Did he?
He
He
was
probably
actually the
did.
last Jets quarterback to throw for 400.
Imagine.
They said that during the game.
Give me one quick second while you look that up.
Vinny Testaverde. I know he was the last Jets quarterback to throw for 400. Um, I need an individual game logs. See when the last time he threw for 400 was. Was not 2004.
All right, there we go. All right. So, Vinny, last one.
I'm trying to find it here. I think it was 2006. Nope, it was before 2006. Because he was the last. They said it during the broadcast. Because I remember making a snide remark about Vinny Testaverde needing to come back last week.
All
There
right.
it is. It was against the Ravens in 2000. He threw for 481.
Damn. Nice.
Um,
One more fun fact, and I think we can move on, or unless you want
yeah.
to still talk about Mike White. But Josh Johnson, who came out in relief, cousin of Marshawn Lynch. Found out that.
Oh, I did not know that.
Both out of Oakland. Let's go.
Man, that's pretty sick. Uh, One last game from last week. We ended backup quarterback Sunday with Cooper Rush absolutely tanking Sunday Night Football's ratings, but the Cowboys winning a very impressive game
Yeah,
against the
definitely.
Vikings without their starting quarterback. Um, Cooper Rush played well enough, right? We talked about Mac Jones, right, and him doing enough for the Patriots to win. So Cooper Rush did,
Yeah.
right? He threw that early pick. Uh, Probably a little bit of nerves, a little bit of not being used to being out there in NFL speed, but after that, recovered quite well. Um, they didn't. They actually threw the ball a lot more than I realized. 24 of 40 for Cooper Rush. But he didn't make big mistakes. He let a good Dallas defense do what the good Dallas defense does, which is not let the other team kill them.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and yeah, exactly. You have enough pieces around to where that guy can come off the bench and team can still put up points. Like, and the fact that Minnesota looked as like that's I know like it's an overreaction and people are calling for Zimmer's head, but how the hell do you only put up 16 points in that game? Absolutely despicable. Like you gotta win that game if you're the Vikings to to only to only give up on the flip side to only give up 20 points and not have enough offensive juice with that team to be able to beat the Cowboys. Ridiculous. Absolutely
Yeah,
ridiculous.
yeah, that team's got too much talent on the offensive side to only put up 16. And again, we talked about it. They're being hampered by Kirk Cousins, the other one.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
he's he is what he is, right? He is Kirk Cousins. We know what he is by this point.
The
He's
thing
not gonna win.
and you look and the thing is given those stats, I mean, within the game, just under a 90 QB rating, 23 or 35 for under 200 yards throwing, but a touchdown, no picks. So that'll add in to his season ratings, and he'll look great throughout the season. But no,
Classic Kirk Cousins,
that's yeah,
right?
exactly. It's like it's he's not stat padding because they're not doing anything. They're actually like not moving the ball, but like he looks just good enough on paper to fool you into think that he's going to do anything.
He's
And
empty calories.
yeah, and as soon as because I think this Vikings team should still make the playoffs. Um, as soon as they do, they're out in the first round, guaranteed. You heard it here first.
Yeah.
You heard it here first. That's a team that is destined to lose the wild card round.
So essentially, you think the Vikings are going to be the third wild card? Then is what you're telling me? Because I don't.
I
Um,
hmm
because the Rams are 7-1, right? The Rams and Cardinals are both 7-1. One of them is in, right?
yeah.
There's no way one of those teams loses out that the amount that they need to miss. They're both in. The Saints at 5-2, it's going to be tough for them to miss at this point,
A lot of
right?
games left. There's a lot of games left. I'm not
Four more
sold.
wins probably gets them in.
Yeah, but like that's again. I think that's a 5-2. It's deceptive. Carolina,
Fair,
Carolina, you're already knocking out of there, right?
fair. Yes.
I
Falcons,
yeah.
Eagles, Jets, Dolphins, Panthers, Falcons again. Of those 6 games, they only need to win 4 of them, and they're in,
Yeah.
right? Like that's the thing. Yeah, they haven't been as good as 5-2 would say it is, but that 5-2, that barely skating by some of these teams, gets you to a point where all they need to do is be average against bad teams, and they'll make the playoffs.
Yeah, you know what's funny is I did not think that Carolina was still in the playoff hunt, but that kind of that threw off my thought there. So yeah, this because I believe
So,
that I think the Niners still have it, have
well,
the
then
opportunity here. So I think the Niners are
you'd have to sneak the
your
Niners in as
third
your
or your
third,
fourth.
right?
We'll see with the Saints. I'm not sold on them, and we've seen some crazy upsets already. You would never
Yeah,
thought
no, that's true.
you would never.
I look at that schedule and I go, the Saints are going to win 4 of those 6 games I mentioned.
I think the Falcons to the Saints is a lot closer than the Jets to the Bengals, and we saw what happened there. So
Perhaps.
yeah, we'll see.
Um, I also, with the Niners, I don't want to rain on your Niners parade, but that stretch run is not the easiest thing in the world, right?
Not at
They
all.
they still got to play the Rams, they still got to play the Cardinals, they still got to play the Bengals, they still got to play the Rams again. Titans are in there, and regardless of my thoughts on the Titans, that's going to be a tough game. That's probably going to matter a lot for both teams. Falcons game is probably going to matter a lot for both teams, right? Like that's a tough stretch of games. And the Vikings game is probably going to matter a lot for both teams. It's not an easy road to the playoffs for the Niners.
Here, I got 2 words for you. No, 3, because I'm gonna add one in there. George, fucking Kittle, coming back. This team is gonna be a lot different. You put that weapon out there. Not only is he gonna be another target for Jimmy to go to besides Debo as far as consistent target. Someone you have to consider as far as doubling or masking that, just being aware of his presence on the field. But obviously, one of the best or the best blocking tight end out there as far as just the athleticism and being able to actually get out there to block guys and having the strength to absolutely do it. With Eli like really coming into his own, Elijah Mitchell, and Jimmy G really looking comfortable back there. This is going to be the Niners team that we all expected potentially at the beginning of the season. I feel defense is looking a lot better. Um, I'm liking how we're not playing Murray. This is a big potential like sneaky like steal it win that Murray and D Hop, that's going to be really hard to say, like, oh, yeah, we're going to win that game against the Cardinals, who just lost their first game. But without that, I can see it happening. And I see us squaring up real good against the Rams, honestly. I think that's a very, very winnable game because at least we're getting them at home. I like that we don't have that away game to the Rams until later on, even though,
Last game of the year.
yeah, Jacksonville, you got to figure. I think we take it Vikings head to head. Better than that Seattle team. We'll see where the Bengals are. That's going to be very interesting. How is that
Yeah.
Bengals team going to respond? Because right now they're right in that place where they can start to dip. So that'll be interesting. I think they take those Falcons. Sorry.
Nah, they're fine. They're fine. Matt Ryan's going to ball out. Trust.
Tennessee is going to be a tricky one, but yeah, no D Henry, so gotta love that for our guys. Houston, gimme, and yeah, probably Niners going on a tear. I'm telling you what, dude. We looking. It's looking good. It's looking good. I know there's some intimidation there, and maybe at first glance, I see a lot of wins still on the board right there. A lot of wins.
You you very much undervalue my boy Matthew Stafford, and I feel personally attacked by this. The fact that you look at the Rams and go, "That's a game right there. We got that one in the bag."
No, not in the bag. I think I'm thinking away. That's potentially a game for the Reds, depending on how like that game could mean a lot. Um, but Matt Stafford, like he's looking good this season. Sure, that's fine. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, we will. We will.
Has he won more than one playoff game? Has he won one?
Did he get the Detroit Lions to the playoffs? Listen, I get what you're saying.
That's a lot of
However,
seasons. That's a lot of
he deserves a
seasons.
round of applause for keeping that fucking team relevant.
Were they? No one knew who. See, that's the thing. No one knew Stafford was actually a decent quarterback until he got the fuck off that team. So they weren't relevant. No one gave a shit about the fucking Detroit Lions all those years. He just spent
I
all those years of his career with that
I
team.
I I
I
think the Niners homer cap is coming out here a little bit. I don't see
oh
two
sure.
wins again. I don't see a win against the Rams there. The Cardinals game this week, if Kyler Murray's not playing, absolutely. I think I will say this right now, week 8, my Super Bowl prediction at this time has the Rams in it. I think they're the best team in the NFC right now.
Yeah, I mean, they did. Who did they just pick up? It was the Rams who just picked someone up,
Yeah,
right?
Von Miller.
Vaughn. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna talk about that when we got to the games this week and
Yeah,
how
we'll see. I mean, yeah, obviously that's a piece that like that pops off the page, and with uh, Aaron Darnold already back there, or Donald or Darnold. Sorry, that's a bad mix-up. Not to associate that one with the other one. No, but so that's yeah. But the thing is, that's a damn good D line. I just if the Niners keep it going, offensive line looking as good as they ever been. You get a guy like George Kittle back, the juice is there. Eli, I like us to be able to definitely run with that team. You would have said after that Colts loss that there's no chance in hell they could run with that team. They look a lot better within a couple weeks. So I'm hoping they're able to pick up a yeah. Again, you steal this one potentially against Arizona with no Kyler Murray, no DeAndre
potentially
Hopkins.
him and DeAndre are both still listed as questionable.
I thought it
So
was more confirmed that they were not going to be in there, but
no, at last
I guess
check
that's
they
what
were both still
the
listed as questionable.
the Vegas odds have shifted that. So right now, I believe that they're sitting Niners are at -2.5, and that was the Cardinals side earlier. So Vegas is at least reflecting that they're not playing, but we'll see.
NFL.com's official entry list has both Murray and Hopkins as questionable.
Okay. Yeah. So I think they have a good chance. I mean, I think they have actually, against a depleted offensive or receiver core for the Packers last week. Surprising that they gave up that loss. So, not looking as invulnerable as they did before, but when is a 7-0 team not going to look like they can't be stopped until they are?
Until they're actually stopped, and then the question marks form.
And the Cardinals and Rams, they're looking at absolutely right now, looking like the class of the NFC between them, and they're gonna. But I don't know. I mean, when those teams start slipping up a little bit, they start taking some losses, and all of a sudden that division looks a little bit closer in the middle. Then right now it looks pretty top heavy, right?
Yeah.
So remains to be seen.
Let's move on to this week, shall we?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Um, so I'll just start from the top here and we'll work our way down. Up, Bengals and Browns. Bengals got a 2.5 point spread at home. What are you thinking?
Uh, Bengals home, bounce back game. Um, Saying everything we were about Cleveland and that, but man, that would be interesting because you could look at the OBJ scenario with the Browns and be like, that could hurt. But for a guy that wasn't contributing that much on their offensive side, um, Baker hopefully a little bit healthier. Although that shoulder is going to be bothering him the entire year. That's not going to go away. Um, Landry, I still like the Bengals. I think they'll have the bounce back game, and I think they go over that 2.5. They probably, I think by maybe a couple field goals, probably a 6 point win for them.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I mentioned it when we were talking about the Bengals and potential bounce backs during the Jets conversation. I think you're going to get a really pissed off Bengals team coming out here. I don't think the Browns are there yet. Like I said, I think the Browns will be fine, but those injuries are still there, right? Um,
This might be the worst time to have this game for them.
yes, absolutely. It's a bad combination of obviously all the injury problems you're having and getting a really good Bengals team who's pissed off after dropping an egg. I don't think
I don't think we
the
need.
Browns can overcome that.
I don't think we need to spend too much time on this game, but just a quick question on it. Say the Bengals do what we thought they would, and they just blow out the Jets last week. Do you actually think the Browns have a better chance this week if they blew out the? Yeah, that's kind of my
100%.
feeling. I think momentum and a bad loss. I think this is kind of the case for the Niners. And that's kind of what I'm going with as the homer pick, that sort of thing. I think you take a bad loss like that, and you play to that the rest of the season, and you just suck, or that's the loss you take. That's like, oh my god, we dropped that shit. No, no,
Yeah.
no, no. Let's. And Niners have a couple of those this season, but I think that Colts one was the worst one by far as far as games they dropped. And I think the Bengals for sure. They've dropped a couple that they should have won, but that Jet one's like, how can you let Mike White come in there and beat you? That's
No, and the thing we got to
unacceptable.
remember with the Bengals too is this isn't a team that's got a culture of winning, right? They're learning how to win. And sometimes in learning how to win, you need that loss to teach you like here's how we can't play. Right. And I think
Yeah,
that might have been that loss for the Bengals where it's like, okay, this is what we can't do. Now let's go out there and let's show them what we do do. And I think the Browns, with all their injuries again, I still think the Browns could push a playoff spot, but this is not the right time to be facing the Bengals in Cincinnati after that egg they laid against the Jets. They're going to be coming out pissed.
I would agree definitely. On to our next one. We got we're going. I imagine you're looking Yahoo Sports.
Yeah, I'm at Yahoo Sports too.
Perfect. So our next game on the slate looks like our early another 10 a.m. game. Denver going into Dallas. Dallas favorite at the -10. Um, we go more in depth, but Dallas. Yeah,
I mean, I'm sorry, the Broncos stink. I wanted Teddy Bridgewater to really go into Denver and really take a hold of something, and he's. I, I think this is just what Teddy Bridgewater is as a quarterback, right? He'll manage games. He's not going to make mistakes, but he's not going to win you anything, right? Like you're not going to win games that you shouldn't win with Teddy Bridgewater at quarterback. Dallas, Dak's back, coming off of a big win for that defense. I don't think the Broncos are gonna like going to Dallas this week.
no, I don't think so at all. Um, this might be the toughest game of call right here. Next one up, I got the Houston Texans going into Miami to face the Dolphins.
We got a tank bowl, boys.
This is going to be potentially ugly. This is an interesting spread. This is a very interesting spread, though.
Dolphins getting 5.5. What is that spread?
5.5 at home, and you gotta think Tua, like, I think he could play better, like, than most of the times he's looked out there. He's had flashes. He's had flashes of actually looking decent. Um, I think Davis Mills, like, even against the
I
Rams, had some decent stats, right? But
I got nothing on Davis Mills. I think he is not. No, I don't think much of him. If you gave me an over under on either of these teams to score 5.5 in this game, I'd have to think about it. This 5.5? No, I'm gonna take the Texans on this one. I can't see this being more than like a 10-7, 13-10. It's it's gonna be a dumb score line, but it's gonna be close because neither one of these teams really wants to win this game. To be
yeah,
honest, both franchises would rather lose this game. No, that's not actually not true because the Texans don't have their first round pick this year. But um, I I don't know. This game's I think is going to be close, so I'll take the Texans because of the spread, but I think the Dolphins win outright.
yeah, that's exactly what I'm going with. I'm going with the Dolphins win, but Houston keeps this at maybe 4-3 right there. I think
Yeah,
that's about fair.
yeah.
Let's see. Oh, I see our next one here. Um, I'll let you start out with this one, but we got the Atlanta Falcons going into New Orleans, face off against the Saints. Um,
Saints are getting 6.5 here, right?
my 6 is what I'm seeing.
Oh, okay. I got 6.5, but um,
Maybe that line's moving on us. Yeah, minus
I
6. Eesh.
Trevor Simeon is the starting quarterback here. And I
Yes.
know he played a really good game last week, but I think Halloween played a lot to do with all those backup quarterbacks playing really well. Trevor Simeon is exactly what we think he is. This isn't some young quarterback who's coming out. This isn't a Mike White situation where we really don't know. We've seen Trevor Simeon for years now, right? He was an below average quarterback with the Broncos. He was a guy who never saw the field as a backup anywhere else. The Saints are going to win this game. That's not a question to me. I really yeah, that loss last week to the Panthers killed any hope I had in the Falcons this year. I they can't play good defenses. The Saints haven't they don't have a mind-blowing blow you away defense, but the Saints play defense and the Falcons struggle against teams who actually can, play defense. 6.5 is a bit of a line for me. Even 6 is a bit of a line for me. That
Yeah.
being said, the Saints are 5-1 against the spread over the Falcons in the last 3 years. There's a fun fact for you.
Diving into the stats. Here we go. This is the next level.
That's what we do here. We play the big games. I would love to say the Falcons keep this game close because Trevor Simeon is Trevor Simeon. Ultimately, I think the Saints find some way to pull this thing out by a touchdown or two, right? I'll begrudgingly take the Saints here.
This is surprising. This is surprising because this is my upset of the week.
Ooh, give my
I
boys a
I
chance.
do not like the Saints here. I don't like Trevor Simeon. Like, flash in the pan. Like, that's fine. Went out, had a fine game. This Saints team's already struggled in some of those offensive categories. They've actually run the ball pretty decently, but they don't throw very well. Um, their ability to stop the run is great, but are susceptible to the pass. And if there's one thing that the Falcons can potentially do, and I know, you weren't feeling Matt Ryan earlier, but I think Matt Ryan can still get the ball out there. I think this is a very interesting game off of the Ridley news. I think you can see these guys kind of come out and ball. And I think, yeah, like we were saying, I think that New Orleans is. I don't like how inconsistent they are, and this is exactly the time where they get to be their most inconsistent when they're running out there with the third option, basically, um, at quarterback. So I like the Saints actually, or sorry, I like the Falcons. Um, I would have taken them, yeah, beyond the points, but I actually think they'll get the win here on the road.
Wow. Um, that surprises me. I see what you're saying. I get everything that you said, and you're not wrong about everything you said. But Falcons do not play well against teams with decent defenses, and I just think New Orleans defense will do enough to shut them down. Right? Like I could honestly see Atlanta leaving this game with 10 points. And do I think the Saints offense can do enough to get them 17? Sure. That's my thought. I don't think this is going to be a blowout, but 17-10 to me is a very realistic score in this game.
All right, let's see. Up next on the slate, I got the Las Vegas Raiders going on the road to New York to face off against the Giants. Las Vegas coming in at a -3 into this game. Wow. I'm surprised by the line. I could understand maybe some of that, but I'm very surprised by that line myself.
What are you surprised about it? Because I think me and you might have differing opinions on why we're surprised about this line.
I think the Giants, in keeping it close in that loss against the Chiefs, I think they might be getting some love right now, and so they might be
Okay. Yeah, we got the same opinion. I think the Raiders will win this by a lot more than 3 points.
precisely.
Yeah, okay. Um,
Like Vegas
ever
has,
since
yeah,
ever since Gruden left that team, the Vegas Raiders have only looked better. I know. I guess we'll get into it now. I know everything with Henry Ruggs happened, and it's awful, and that's a tough one for the Raiders. And I know it sounds stupid to talk about football after a woman lost her life, but this is the world we live in, right? Life moves on, and the games keep going. Um, that being said, Hunter Renfro is legit. And Derek Carr all of a sudden looks like a great quarterback without Gruden holding him back. Um, Also, throwing a name out there for people. The Raiders signed Dylan Stoner off of their practice squad to be their fourth wide receiver because they only had three wide receivers on their roster um without Ruggs.
yeah.
Dylan Stoner was a guy I legitimately had penned as a day three draft pick somewhere in the fifth, sixth round. Somebody who I really liked coming out of college. Like I can give you his college stats here real quick. The dude balled out at Oklahoma State. 191 catches for 2,378 yards, 17 touchdowns. Also had two punt return touchdowns. In the preseason, he caught 9 catches for 91 yards, and in his 9 returns, in his 9 punt returns, totaled 93 yards. The guy is fast and can play. He's somebody who I think, if the Giants aren't ready for, might Dearness Johnson them. And the Giants just, let's be honest, they kept the game close with the Chiefs because the Chiefs don't know how to finish off teams at all. I don't see that happening this week. I think the Raiders win this easily by a touchdown, could be more.
Yeah, I would go with that. Yeah, I mean, I honestly I was thinking the Giants were going to keep it kind of close with that Chiefs team just because
Yeah.
um,
Well, we
they
both said it last week, right? We both had the Giants with the spread.
yeah and yeah they play well enough to yeah the weaknesses they have a good enough pass rush to be able to get there with Mahomes and all that. And yeah, I think the Raiders. I'm not too sure what the status is of Waller. Um, so that'll be
Oh,
interesting.
I
Uh,
got the official NFL report up here, so let me just find that game and I can update you on that one. There it
I
is.
don't see him on the list of injuries right now, but
He is not even on the Raiders injured list, which would lead me to believe he is not listed as an injury, which means he's good to go.
yeah, and that's pretty huge. I think for that team, I do like Foster Moreau as another tight end there. I mean, yeah, you could go. I mean, yeah, you can go two tight end. You know, you put Jacobs or Drake back there, and we'll see how Edwards does. He'll probably have to be one to step in a little bit as far as not having Ruggs there. Um, and then you got Renfro. You gotta like those weapons right there, and Carr's been showing it. So yeah, I think this is a easy tutty plus win there for.
Also interesting is Saquon Barkley and Sterling Shepard will not be playing. Neither will Lorenzo Carter.
Yeah.
That team is banged up. Kenny Galladay is still questionable.
Oh, yeah.
Uh,
No, their
John
injury
Ross,
deep list is deep.
yeah, John Ross is still questionable. No, I don't see why this money line is where it is. I don't know if money's coming in on the Giants for some reason that has shifted that money line from where it started, but no, no, Raiders.
Right. Um, move on. Next one I got down the list here. I think this
Yeah,
might be got New England going into Carolina, face off against the Panthers, and it looks like we're giving New England minus 3.5. I think this is kind of a classic case of you got one team that's clearly after their last game looking on the upswing, one last game and last few games clearly on the downswing. Um,
hey, Carolina's coming off of a big time win, man. Statement victory.
yeah, I keep forgetting that their last was actually a win, but they have otherwise stunk, uh, except for the beginning of the season. So I guess a little interesting, maybe a little roller coaster ride a little bit for the Panthers. Um, this one's a little, I don't know, like
I think
this
you and me are kind of in the same headspace on this one. The line scares me.
the line.
Um,
Yeah, the line's interesting. Yeah,
3.5 for a Patriots team that has played with their food this year. Um, this New England Patriots team has been weird in that every game they play is close, whether the team they're playing is good or not. Right? Uh, Lost to the Dolphins. Texans game was only a 3 point game. With the exception of that Jets blowout, everything they play is close. Right? That 3.5 scares me. That being said, New England is a much better team than Carolina. I would be fooling myself if I didn't put my money here on the Patriots.
I think this is exactly the game. Hmm. I think that's actually I think that line's right there. Like
That's the
that's a
problem.
pretty good line
2.5, I'd be bullish on New England. 3.5, this
because
could easily be 27-24.
I honestly think this is a whew, I'll take the Panthers.
You're gonna take the
I'll
Panthers?
take the Panthers. Reason being is I mean the defense is shown out. Like they
Yes,
are
great defense.
if this team goes, it's going to be by the defense. And we talked about Mac Jones like not making mistakes and that sort of thing. But you know, 9 tutties versus 6 picks, he can make mistakes.
Yeah,
Um, Hubbard's going to be big. I think if this offense is going to go, it needs some solid run to help kind of shield Darnold from
being Sam Darnold.
throwing another pick or just overall missing his receivers, some of them completely. I really like how I think this defense could keep Jones limited just enough to keep them in it, and the potential's there. They could be opportunistic as far as sneaking in a pick. The Pats are actually really good at defending. I think against sacks right now. Their offensive
They
line,
don't give up many.
yeah, their offensive line holding up well for Mac there. Yeah, give me the Panthers at that line. I like them to keep it very close, potentially even be able to sneak this win. They are going to be at home, so you gotta wonder how, as poised of a rookie as Mac Jones has looked. We'll see if the noise and that sort of thing can affect them. This is a Panthers team that's still 4-4 right now. Like, if they can somehow see a way of turning this around, they're still very much there. Obviously, like I said, I forgot they're even in the playoff picture, but this is the time to do it. They could actually separate themselves in that playoff picture if they're able to pick up a win here. So we'll see if they rally. They could absolutely rally on the defensive side. It just can that offensive side do enough. Keep the ball really. Actually, I think that's going to be a big thing. Panthers are actually a really good time of possession team. That's going to be a big factor. I think if they're able to keep that Patriots defense out there, they're able to run the ball effectively, take up some clock, not make mistakes themselves as far as turning the ball over. I think they have a decent chance of actually being able to take this game.
I think that's fair. I ultimately look at these two teams as being very similar, just New England being slightly better than Carolina at most of it.
Yeah.
Right? They're both teams with really good defenses who are relying on their offenses to not make mistakes. And I just think as a whole, as a package of that style of play, I just think New England's better at it. But again, that line, man.
Yeah, that line's interesting. That's a good one. They know how to pick them, and I think they know how to pick them for this game too, because we've seen this a couple times. This will happen in NFL games from time to time, but not too often. I've seen a lot of these recently. The Buffalo Bills are going into Jacksonville to play the Jaguars.
I hate this line.
14 minus 14 and a half for the Bills. An absurd line. But you're like, it's the fucking Jacksonville Jaguars. That team stinks. Do you think they could actually keep it within a couple touchdowns? Basically, is what you're asking yourself here. Um,
I mean,
I'll take the Bills.
this just
I'll take the
covers what they did against the Texans, right? Texans was a 15-point game.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh boy, I hate these lines because the Bills are going to win. The question is, can Jacksonville keep it respectable? Right?
How do they win though? That's the thing too. You blow them out super early,
And you risk the Texans thing from last week.
and yeah, exactly. Oh, we're just player second teamers.
Yeah.
You'll give up some tutties probably to them, and all of a sudden they bring it in. I think Buffalo has enough to where it's like Buffalo's second team could probably beat Jacksonville's first team. So
Yeah,
I feel
I'm
pretty
with
good
you.
about
I'll
that.
take the Bills because I feel like they should win this game by easily 2 touchdowns,
Yeah,
right? Like realistically, Buffalo is at least 3 or 4 touchdowns on any given day better than Jacksonville. Poor Trevor Lawrence, man. That dude has talent. I know a lot of people haven't seen it, but trust me, as somebody who watched him a lot in college,
it's
that
there.
dude's got a lot of talent.
It's there. Trust me, it's there.
He just you
Well,
gotta believe
oh,
Jacksonville.
oh, hopefully. Um, but yeah, I mean that game's gonna
Stupid line.
that's gonna be a yeah.
Yeah.
Can't imagine that's gonna be too crazy interesting to watch, except for maybe
Nope.
some impressive stat lines.
Yeah, Josh Allen's gonna continue to look to make himself the MVP of the league this year.
Let's see. On to the next one. I think this is the last of the morning slate here, or I suppose early afternoon slate if you're on the East Coast. We got the Minnesota Vikings going into Baltimore to play the Ravens. Ravens are going to get -6 on this one. I think you know where I'm steering with this, but
We're steering on the same boat. That -6 is not enough for me.
yeah,
Or, yeah, not enough for me to think the Vikings.
yeah.
You're less than a touchdown there. No, Baltimore's going to beat them by more than a touchdown. Um,
Baltimore has had some interesting games, 5-2. Like that's a fairly decent record. They have had they've had close games against teams that you would have figured they would have done a lot better against. Really snuck out a couple wins for sure uh, in that record. So they have been. You're talking about a Detroit team they only beat by 2. A Colts team that now we kind of see that that was kind of the beginning of the Colts maybe
yeah,
popping back up there.
the Colts are a better team than they were showing at that point, and I think now we're seeing more of what the Colts actually are.
Yeah. Um, look great against the Chargers, and then after 5 straight wins, and yeah, you have some close calls in there. That close win against the Chiefs, def- destroyed by the Bengals. But going into the bye week, like that's been preached now for 2 weeks straight. Like we dropped that game that bad against our, you know, the division leader right now. You got to imagine that the Ravens are going to be ready to play this game.
Yeah, I will say the same thing that we said about the Bengals and Browns applies to this game, only worse because the Vikings are not a good team,
Yeah.
whereas the Browns actually are. This could get ugly. Lamar's gonna be
Oh yeah.
pissed, and I don't think the Vikings are ready for what's about to happen to them. I could see this not only being double digits, but we could be talking 20, 25 point blowout here. This could get ugly fast.
I will say that if they pick up this, they'll have another couple games to where it looks like they should be good. They have an absolute tear their last 7 games of the season. You got Cleveland twice, who we're thinking is going to be kind of bubbling on an upsurge to that point. You got
Yeah.
Pittsburgh that has looked pretty nice, even though just a 4-3 record. Green Bay and the Rams.
Return of COVID Rogers too.
And sorry, now they're going to be playing the Bengals away.
Yeah.
That's also in
Yeah.
there.
Ooh,
That's a really
that's
really
murderous
tough
road there.
stretch. That's 7 games down the line. That's gonna be tough.
And we've mentioned it before with the Ravens. What are they? Are they're this weird team where, with inconsistent teams, usually they'll beat bad teams close and then lose to good teams, or, they'll play a good team and they'll barely beat them, and then they'll play a bad team and barely beat them. The Saints, right? Where we don't know what the Saints are because they never show up, right? They're always just average in every game, no matter who they're playing, be them bad or good. The Baltimore Ravens are a roller coaster ride.
They are.
One week they'll look like the best team in the football. The next team they'll look like they'll be lucky to make the playoffs.
I'm.
And is this game a part of the roller coaster ride? I don't think so. But I think that last stretch of games could be very interesting.
You would think a team that beat the Lions by just 2 and lost that badly to the Bengals would not be in the position they are in, but this is a team very likely you're gonna see, um, 8-2 potentially down the road here, and then just going into that
Murderers row.
seven game stretch at 8-2. That's going to be very interesting where they wind up. How many wins they get out of that stretch is you could go a lot of different directions with that. Like really, if you expect Cleveland to bounce back like we think they are, that's going to be crazy. So something to look forward to that, I suppose. If you're looking at that AFC playoff picture, it could get pretty muddled. I think
Yeah.
with all those. All right, what we got next, Greg?
We are on to 205 now.
Yep.
Chargers and Eagles. Chargers getting a point and a half here.
Whew.
What?
Yeah, I think
Are people over? selling how big that Eagles win was and overselling how big that Patriots loss was? Why is this only a point and a half?
Yeah, I mean, Eagles went out there and stomped the Lions, uh, but that team has not looked good in a lot of their games. Yeah, definitely give me the Chargers on
Yeah,
that one.
why is this only a point and a half?
I don't know.
Have they watched the same seasons? Like, yeah, the
Chargers
Chargers.
have been down. Like that team does not look very consistent, and
No,
you see some slips
but
from Herbert and stuff like that. But yeah, come on now.
they look like at worst a 9-8 team, which is significantly better than what I think the Eagles are.
Yeah, probably
I
second.
don't.
Eagles probably second best team in the NFC East. Probably still like a 7-win team.
Nah, I don't think they're the second best team in the East. I think the Giants are. But the fact that we're having this conversation about who's better, the Eagles or the Giants, tells you how bad the Eagles are.
Yeah, and tells you, you know, might to think of what we're putting into our podcast if we're talking about the Giants and the Eagles. Because come on, let's go.
Uh,
Get it.
uh Tap, very personal game to you.
Oh,
Niners, Cardinals. Niners getting 2.5 at home. Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins are game time decisions. You have said you like the Niners.
like
I
the Niners.
think I think
Like the Niners
that
by. I like the Niners by a bit on this one.
really.
I really love our chances on this one. Get him at home,
Now, is that under the assumption that you will not be seeing Kyler Murray and
of
DeAndre
course. Oh
Hopkins?
yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean that offense is going to be quite a bit different when you don't have those two in it. Still some weapons, of course. Not to think that's the case, but yeah, I think this is just it. Like this is one. If the Niners don't get up for this one, I'd be incredibly surprised. And I think the Cards they might be able to rally behind second their backup and that sort of thing. But yeah, give me the Niners at home. I'm thinking they take this by at least a tutty, but that's my personal opinion. So
So, this is an interesting one for me in particular because I've actually seen a lot of this backup quarterback. Name is Chris Trevler,
okay,
Winnipeg Blue Bombers legend.
okay,
Man had a very good CFL career. Think Kyler Murray light. He's a good runner. He's got a good arm. Neither of them are Kyler Murray, right?
yeah,
Um, I like Chris Trevler. I think he's a solid backup for an NFL team. If Chris Trevler is playing, the Niners will win. If Kyler Murray is playing, Justin Fields is also Kyler Murray light, and they had trouble with Justin Fields. Uh that's what makes this game so tough for me, right?
yeah.
Is if Kyler Murray's playing, I like the Cardinals here. I don't know if Kyler Murray's playing, and it sounds pretty bad for Kyler Murray to be playing, to be honest with you,
I mean,
which is why I'm going to side with you on this and take the Niners because it doesn't sound like Murray's going to be playing.
if he does even, I mean, it's coming off the ankle, right? It's an ankle injury, so it's going to be a little harder to run the ball. Maybe a little bit more hesitant to run the ball, like you would with Murray. And yeah, I think if you are to talk about maybe having Murray stay in the pocket a little bit more, the one thing you want is a healthy D Hop to help that out.
DeAndre Hopkins, yeah.
And
I
so we'll see.
Let me put it this way: you're playing 100% Kyler Murray, or you're not playing Kyler Murray. I don't think they risk Kyler Murray unless he's ready to go. Right? I don't think you're playing a 50% Kyler Murray in this game when you're 7-1. Right? If you're 5-4, closer to 4-4, closer to 500, maybe 7-1. No, you're either getting Kyler Murray, who maybe not 100%, maybe like 90%, right? Kyler Murray, who's pretty much close to ready, or you're not getting Kyler Murray in this situation. And I just don't think they'll get Kyler Murray in this situation.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, yeah, if Murray's not able to go here, I mean, you look at they would probably actually wish to have the bye week right after this game. That would be actually be probably perfect for them. But they're going to have a couple of those games against teams that are right at this record of kind of middle of the road, along with the Niners. They're going to have the Panthers and the Seahawks. Um,
Welcome to the NFC.
so that's going to be yeah, that'll be a tricky little stretch if Murray's not able to go. But yeah,
I think
yeah, if they do the 100% or not, or bust sort of thing, if they're taking losses, it's still, you know, still not even looking good past that bye week. That's 4 weeks down the road. Probably not the case. But if it's still not, like something happens, um, re-aggravates or
mhm.
wouldn't wish it or anything like that, but kind of surgery or something like that necessary. Um, man, like that's going to be rough on them. I mean, they got a couple winnable ones you would think otherwise, but some teams that will definitely get their wins there against them as well. Um, and if they're not looking good against teams like Carolina and Seattle, how can you expect them to look good against the Rams, right? So
No, that's true. Last game of the afternoon slate, Packers and Chiefs. Did the lines makers not see any of the Chiefs games recently? Chiefs are getting 7.
yeah, I mean, not a lot of love for Jordan Love. Not a lot of love for Love on that one. Gotta imagine that's what's steering that, and people still in this haze that the Chiefs are the same Chiefs team. I understand the weapons, the marquee names, the ones that are on the tickets, and the front of the playbook, or the what the hell is it called when you go to the stadium? The
The program.
program. Thank you. Yeah, they're there, but yeah, again, when you're not good on an entire side of the ball as they are on defense, and your offensive line stinks, uh, you're going to be giving up some stuff. I think this is a Packers team that uh, can still operate. Rodgers has had kind of middling games for sure, to where he's not had to throw the ball that much because he does have Jones, Dillon back there. I like their run game. I like them to definitely keep this within 7.5. I think that's ridiculous. Give me Green Bay on that spread, but
Yeah,
give
me
me
too.
give me Green Bay on this win too. I would say that might be a big push, but I don't like this Chiefs team at all. So
I feel like the world needs a wake up call, and that wake up call is that Green Bay's defense is really good, and I don't think they get the credit they deserve for being a really good defense. You do not put up points against the Packers. They gave up 38 to the Saints in week 1, and everybody's like, this defense stinks, and they were sold on that. That's not the case this year. They've only given up more than 20 points 3 times. Right? Uh, you are muted, by the way.
oh yeah, no, I
Um,
wasn't saying anything.
okay.
I'm more mouth wow anyway. So yeah,
Gotcha. Yeah, this is not a Packers defense that I think people are giving enough credit. And I think they're about to get some credit when they shut down the Chiefs. I'm with you. I'm not 100% sure of, because it all depends on what we see out of Jordan Love. Right? If Jordan Love goes out there and throws 4 picks, it doesn't matter how good this defense is, they're going to lose. Right? So, still relying a lot on that, but boy, I think this Green Bay defense just is not getting enough credit for the season they're having, and it's been a good season. And again, Aaron Rodgers inadvertently helping his team, whereas everybody's kind of sleeping on him again because he was an idiot on Rogan today, not on
yeah,
about Rogan, on
yeah.
McAfee today.
Yeah,
And again, everybody's going, all without Rodgers, what can this team do? Not looking beyond what this team has been this year. And it
yeah.
hasn't been the Aaron Rodgers show. It's been the Green Bay defense show. They're going to step up again, and they're going to make life hell for Patrick Mahomes, who's already having a pretty rough season.
Right. Yeah. No. And yeah, I don't know what the over under on running back carries is, but give me the over no matter what it is. I think you hand that rock off
Yeah.
plenty. You got a beautiful 1-2 combo back there um, that you could go behind. Offensive line that's probably gonna love that game plan. And Jordan Love, who has the ability to I think he would be just fine. Yeah, if this was a situation, you just limit his, third and longs and that sort of thing. You put him in good scenarios. I don't think he makes that many mistakes, and I think you have plenty of opportunity to put up points against this Chiefs team. So I like their chances definitely to win this game, but absolutely to keep it within
Uh,
7.5.
the money makers clearly have not been watching Chiefs games this year. They don't blow out teams anymore. They don't. +7, way too much. From a money line I really like that I feel like makes it easy, or from a point spread line rather, that makes it really easy. To one that I hate, Rams Titans. Rams are getting 7.5. Why?
No, Derrick Henry. I mean, as you've brought up before, like as soon as you take that element out of it, and yeah, people don't think that Tannehill is gonna drive that team down to so many points. Obviously, the Titans are a lot more than that. Obviously, a defense that could operate pretty well, but you're talking about a Rams defense that just got stronger. Um, they're going to be getting after it. We'll see how Tannehill is able to handle that pressure. That's going to be very interesting because I think this is this. Now you're wondering like if the Rams are able to get there constantly with 4 and drop back 7, can Tannehill operate out of that and not make too many mistakes? I kind of see why maybe 7.5. I don't like that spread at all. I think that's a tough one.
No, don't
Um,
get me wrong. I see why the line is where it's at,
yes.
and I'm still siding with the Rams on this one.
Mm,
But I hate it because this could very easily be a one touchdown game, right? Both teams have pretty decent defenses,
yeah.
right? Uh, that being said, in in a game like this, all things equal, give me Stafford over Tannehill. I'm gonna put my money on Stafford here. It's kind of where I'm looking at with this one.
The Stafford belief is there. What's interesting about both these teams is both actually coming off of losses. Wait, no. Sorry. Both coming off of they both coming off of wins right now.
Yes.
One, yeah, Houston Rams game, a lot closer than even that 16 points looks.
That 16 points is a lie.
Yeah,
It was 38-0, and then the Rams gave up because they had won.
Titans against that Colts team, you might have been like a little surprised and like how do they even the Colts keep it that close? I think Colts are starting to show a little bit more of what that team actually is.
For sure.
So I actually I like a lot of what the Titans have been looking like lately. Yeah, I mean a couple grit. I mean really some gritty wins. Against Buffalo as well. And then yeah, just a nice big blowout against KC. Give me Tennessee on this one.
You're gonna take Tennessee?
Yeah,
I see the argument there. Now, are you saying Tennessee outright or Tennessee because of the spread?
not outright. I would say
Okay, yeah.
Tennessee spread.
Yeah, that's fair. I could see Tennessee keeping this within a touchdown.
Yeah,
Um,
on the road, that's going to be a tricky one. I mean, granted, LA, like,
the Rams have been a little bit better about garnering fans than the Chargers have, but yeah, I see your
yes,
point. LA in general hasn't been a great football market.
yeah, but I think it'll be enough for them to, yeah. Man, no, Tennessee.
You're
I'm
gonna
gonna
stick with
I'm
it?
gonna stick with my guts. Yeah. I'm thinking about it. I'm like, damn, this Rams team could really go though. Like, that's that D line's so fucking scary. That's the thing. Like, I would have been if we somehow kept Buckner and had Bosa. That might have been as close of a 1-2 right there. But I'm very interested with with Von Miller potentially coming back to form because he's been just lost over there in Denver, and he might not be the guy he once was,
He's still
but
a presence.
he's still he still might be able to really get off that edge, and
Yeah.
yeah, you gotta love him with Aaron on there,
Uh,
Aaron on there. So yeah,
yeah, that Rams defense might be the best defense in the NFL now.
could be.
With adding Von Miller to it, whew, that's going to be a tough team to play against. Monday Nighter, another point spread line that I absolutely despise. Steelers and Bears. Steelers are favored by 6.5.
Yeah, that line's rough. Bears like coming off of flashes of looking good against my Niners, but ultimately like that end up not going so well toward the end. That score. Pittsburgh, I'm kind of interested in what their wins have looked like because I know they were looking they dropped a couple at home, and so
Lot
them
lot of really close games, man.
so
3 point win over the Seahawks, 8 over the Broncos, 7 over the Bills, 5 over the Browns.
so yeah,
So
they dropped their first two home games and now and then had went away to Green Bay, then won their next two home games, but beat Denver by just 8 and Seattle by just 3, and had that really funky game against Cleveland. Give me the Bears at that line. I think
so
the,
the
I,
re-
I think the Steelers still win, but I like the Bears keeping it close-ish.
I have no faith in the Steelers whatsoever. I don't think that offensive line is shambolic. And let's face it, Ben Roethlisberger and Matt Ryan, they are one and the same. They are old quarterbacks who don't have an arm anymore, right? Everything I said about Matt Ryan, you can move over to Ben Roethlisberger and it's still true. Matt Nagy's back for the Bears. That is a huge minus for the Bears. That team looks so much better coached when Matt Nagy wasn't there.
Yeah.
It it was crazy. It was like watching a different team against the Niners at times. They looked like a better offensive team. That offense actually looked like it could do things. Matt Nagy's back. Eesh. The Steelers don't blow teams out. Bears have a good defense. Sometimes I don't know. I'll take the Bears. I can't imagine Pittsburgh winning this game by 7 points, but I still think Pittsburgh will probably win what will be one of the worst games of the week.
On Monday night.
On Monday night. Gotta make that sweet, sweet ad money.
There you go. All right, and I think that was the slate right there.
That
Um,
was. Got any fun topics to talk about? Anything stand out to you this week?
um, you know, I will suppose bring up the unfortunate as far as the timing of it. Because it was first actually first presented or released out there, leaked, I guess, on the 3rd, which was my birthday. Didn't officially retire until yesterday, but Buster Posey hanging it up. Yeah, I mean, hell of a fucking run. Definitely you know, one of the few catchers that has really made their imprint on the game. Had one of his best years last year in kind of a nice little like kind of time reduced management. I think some good managerial work there by the Giants, but yeah, damn shame we couldn't end it on a little bit higher note. This was that Giants team that kind of surprised the shit out of everybody. I think as far as being as good as they were, and yeah, definitely shout outs to Buster. Hell of a run, dude.
Listen, if I told any team in the world you will get a catcher who will bat 302, you would take it.
Hmm.
Buster Posey was an unbelievable catcher as far as an offensive catcher goes. His defensive metrics aren't even that bad, right? Like he's one of those rare offensive catchers whose defensive metrics don't make him look like a liability back there. He has a good arm. He was decent at picking guys off.
Yeah.
His strikes called were pretty consistently average, right? Like he was a good enough defensive catcher where you could justify throwing that bat in the lineup every night. And that bat, boy, Buster Posey in his prime was such a good hitter, right? You look back to that 2012 season where he batted 336, man. Like the guy slapped the ball, right? He wasn't the biggest power guy in the world, right? I think his max home runs in his career is 22, but 24 rather. But he could hit the ball, man. And yeah, last of a dying breed, really. There's offensive catchers aren't really much of a thing anymore, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, shout outs to Buster Posey, great career. Uh, I know disappointing end of the Giants season this year after the start that they had, but Buster Posey's got nothing but positive thoughts, I imagine, looking back on his career. He's got 3 rings to his name to leave with. He's feeling okay. Hey Tap, you remember Duck Hodges?
Yeah.
Pittsburgh quarterback last
Yeah.
year who's a little bit of a meme.
Yeah.
Did you know he's starting a football game tomorrow? Uh, I don't talk CFL too much, but Duck Hodges will make his CFL debut tomorrow for the Ottawa Red Blacks, arguably the worst name in the history of sports. I saw that and I had to bring it up because freaking Pittsburgh Steelers fans last year thought Duck Hodges was the second
Yeah.
coming of Christ.
That's right. Uh,
Um, what can I say, man? I hope he does well. I want the memes to live. Uh, I I don't think he will, honestly. Um, being honest with you, the CFL tends to do well in producing pretty decent quarterbacks. And I've seen it too often where a guy flames out in the NFL and thinks they're going to come down and dominate the CFL. And like a big example of that was Tavares Jackson. You remember Tavares Jackson after he flamed out with Minnesota there?
Yep.
Uh, Came down and played for the Toronto Argonauts for a year, signed a massive contract with the Toronto Argonauts, and was horrendous. The CFL is not as easy as some guys think it'll be, and I don't see Duck Hodges pulling it off. But I thought that was interesting to note. Shout out to Duck Hodges. I hope you do well. Um,
that's that is not that's not a poll I thought we'd have on the pod here, but there you
oh,
go.
I got a couple of them, man. I got a couple of them. Did you hear about the Jack Eichel trade?
No, I did not.
Kind of a big deal in the NHL yesterday. Jack Eichel is finally out of Buffalo. Thank God for this guy. Traded to uh the Vegas Golden
Yeah,
Knights,
Golden Knights. Yeah.
gave up a lot for him. Alex Tuck, Peyton Krebs, a top 10 protected first round pick this year, and a second round pick next year, which becomes a first rounder if they don't use the first rounder this year. The first and second round swap if the Knights are picking in the top 10 this year. Um, I imagine you haven't watched a lot of Buffalo Sabres games, have you?
No, they don't pop up too often unless the Sharks
Yeah.
happen to be playing them.
So
That's about it.
Jack Eichel is fucking legit. Jack Eichel is a guy who has been criminally underrated because he plays in Buffalo. And he's going to get his back surgery. He'll be out for 3 months. And when he gets healthy, this might be the thing that pushes Vegas back into the Stanley Cup Finals. He is that good. A line of him, Pacioretty, and Stone sounds like the scariest thing on earth.
Yeah.
Um,
So this.
Fun fact about this trade. Before you chime in on this, did you know that since entering the league, Vegas now has zero of the first round picks they've ever drafted? They don't have a single one of their first round picks anymore. Peyton Krebs, who was traded in this deal, went to the Sabres. Cody Glass is with the Predators. Nick Suzuki is a Canadian, and Eric Brandstrom is a Senator. They've traded away every other first round pick they've had.
They're pulling a Rams basically, but instead they draft the guys and then they trade them off
And then
after.
they just trade them away. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh wow. But this is what's kind of interesting as I'm kind of reading the story on this. So basically, the major part of Eichel even wanting to go was an artificial disc replacement. He's been
Yes.
looking for the surgery. I guess the team hasn't been allowing it, so that's kind of the main catalyst to him wanting to trade. Goes to Vegas. They immediately are going to defer to his medical team. He's going to get the surgery, so he's not going to see the ice for quite a bit
Three to
of
five
time.
months.
So
3 to 5 months.
that's something. I mean, you're putting that much stock into a player that's going to be coming off of surgery. Always, I understand like not like players haven't come off surgeries and still play to, you know, a star caliber level, that sort of thing. But that's a crazy one. Like, it's not going to be seeing the ice for a while. He's going to obviously um, after that amount of time, how is that team going? How does he fit in? And yeah, like what position are they looking for? Are they fighting for a playoff spot? Um, how good is that team running? Um, so yeah, that'll be interesting, and yeah, a lot of capital to put into that trade. But yeah, if you feel like you got a guy, what's his do you know what his contract looks like going forward? Because if you're picking
I
him up,
bel
you got to be picking him up for multiple years. If you're putting away that much,
Yes, he's got a long-term contract and it is expensive. I believe he's got another 4 years left on his contract at a 10 million per cap hit. Um,
so
However, throwing out healthy Jack Eichel stats. Uh, so he was drafted in the same class as Connor McDavid. Jack Eichel is somebody that I know very well because I'm an Oilers fan, obviously being from Edmonton. And that Connor McDavid draft, there was a little tinge of question about who the Oilers should take, whether it be McDavid or Eichel. Now, they definitely did not make the wrong choice. Connor McDavid's probably the best player in the NHL right now. But uh since his rookie season in 2015-16, his point totals have been 56, 57, 64, 82, 78, 18. That 78 is obviously in the COVID shortened season. That 82 point season, he missed 4 games with an injury. So he has been over a point a game guy the last few seasons. This is a guy who is a difference maker. And all these numbers are worth noting are with Buffalo, who is the worst run franchise in the NHL, bar none. Fun fact, they still don't have a training staff. They fired their training staff last season and just never bothered to hire a new one.
wow, jeez,
Joke of an organization.
yeah, that's absurd.
Uh, Good on Jack Eichel for getting the hell out of there. I wish him well in Vegas, but not too well because that's a division rival, and I hate it.
Tough. That's tough. Damn.
Uh, you got anything else? Because I do have one more thing that I need to rant about. I need to get a rant out there.
Let's hear it. This will be our finale, I think, right here. What we got?
Cap, you are not a big college football guy, correct?
Uh, I've been at times. No, not as of late though. Definitely not as
Okay,
of late.
so I am a big college football guy. I am wearing a college football jersey. This rant is partially to show this off. This is my favorite jersey in my collection. This is a University of Miami Dwayne Johnson jersey.
Ah, there you go. Okay.
I don't know if that guy ever turned out to be anything or not.
Yeah, maybe.
But
Probably some hack.
the college football playoff rankings came out today. Or not today, earlier this week. And I am here to defend the little guy. And that little guy is the Cincinnati Bearcats. Cincinnati is undefeated right now. And they are ranked 6th in this college football playoff poll. Behind such teams as Alabama, who has a pretty bad loss on their resume. Ohio State, who has lost to Oregon on their resume. If your argument for keeping Cincinnati out of the playoffs is that they haven't played a tough enough schedule. Then why is Notre Dame ranked ahead of some of the teams that they are? Why is Notre Dame ranked ahead of Wake Forest if you don't think Notre Dame is a good enough team to be in that conversation? Because Wake Forest is undefeated. They're 10. Notre Dame's 8. Um, they are being punished for keeping a game against Navy close. That's the only game they've kept close. Other than that, 49-14, 42-7, 38-24, 24-13 over Notre Dame, 52-3, 56-21, 31-12. Outside of that Navy game, they haven't played anybody close. And if you're going to punish them for keeping Navy close, then you got to punish Oregon for their last 3 weeks keeping a really bad UCLA team close, a really bad Cal team close, and losing to Stanford. You've got to punish Ohio State for losing to Oregon, for keeping a Penn State team that looks like they're in free fall close, and for keeping Tulsa within a couple scores. If you are going to punish teams for playing bad against bad opponents, you have to do it evenly. Transversely, if you're going to reward teams for beating good opponents, you have to do it transversely. You cannot just reward Power 5 teams because they are Power 5 teams. Just because you play in a Power 5 conference does not mean you are a good team. UCLA this year sucks. Washington's like 1-7. They beat them by a touchdown, right? Stanford has 2 wins. One of them is Oregon. Oregon is the 4th-ranked team in this college football playoff standing right now. I am sick of this from college football. Either expand this playoff to 8 teams or start treating these non-Power 5 conference teams fairly. Because I'm tired of treating UCLA like they are somehow a better win than Indiana. They are not. Treat every team the same. Look at the resume the same. Don't say, well, Navy stayed close with them, so Navy's clearly a better team than Washington, despite the fact that they have the same damn record. I'm tired of it. I am calling the College Football Playoff Committee to task on this one. Cincinnati getting hosed by this ranking system. Alabama's too high. Oregon's too high. Get it right. Just get it right. Don't let another non-Power 5 conference team who deserves a shot at this playoff not get it. This can't be another UCF. Cincinnati needs their shot. That's my rant.
Well said. I mean, and you know that's something that's been, I would say, as far as these rankings have been concerned. I mean, yeah, if you're not in those top conferences, you've always gotten the short end of the stick. You could win out, but for some reason or another, lackluster games from those top teams, for some reason, don't drop them, even though a team from a lesser conference, as that could be perceived, is kicking the shit out of everybody. How much more can you do? You can play who you're given in a given season, and I think by the end of it, I mean, I'm not too sure. The thing with expansion on playoffs is like, okay, you expand it to 8, well, 9's going to be pissed off, right? It's probably only something you could prevent so much, unless you really set up a tournament that goes multiple rounds, right? Not just 2, basically, right? It's basically where we're at.
And I do get that, but usually with 8 teams, if you look at the top 8, you can go, those 8 teams are the best, right? Uh, with 4 teams, like I mentioned UCF, right? UCF a couple years ago went undefeated. They were one of the best teams in the nation. They went on to the Rose Bowl to beat, I believe, Georgia. I could be wrong about that. It was one of the big Power 5 conference teams, and they beat them in the Orange Bowl.
Yeah.
And UCF went that season. They were the only undefeated team in college football and never got a shot at the playoffs. Right? And that was shit, right? That shouldn't have happened. UCF deserved their moment in the spotlight. And I look at the way that this year's breaking down and I see the exact same thing happening to Cincinnati. And I hope it doesn't. Because Cincinnati honestly does not have a hard schedule from here on out, right? Cincinnati's biggest downfall this year is they bought into the hype of Indiana like everybody else. Everybody coming into the season thought Indiana was going to be a really strong team, and they haven't been. So that Indiana win that they have alongside that Notre Dame win doesn't look as good as it should, right? But you can only schedule so much at the start of the season, right? The crystal ball only tells you so much.
Exactly.
Um, the rest of the year, the only ranked team they have left is SMU. Um, Tulsa, South Florida, and Eastern Carolina are all going to be routes. They need to beat SMU, which I'm very confident they will. And they need to do it relatively convincingly, which sucks because, again, you look at Alabama's rest of their schedule outside of Auburn, it's very similar. And if Alabama doesn't beat Auburn convincingly, they're going to get forgiven it. Whereas if um, Cincinnati doesn't beat SMU convincingly, it's going to hurt them. And it's frustrating to see, right? So
We shall
I
see.
hope the college football playoff committee does right by Cincinnati for a change,
Well.
but they won't. So none
Oof.
of this matters.
We'll see. We'll see. Maybe they heard your rant, man. Nah. But
So
yeah. It's been a problem. It's been a problem for a bit with that playoff situation, and yeah, it's like there's so many variables to account for. You're hoping to make the right choice, but yeah, every now and then, yeah, you're gonna see a shaft job, unfortunately.
yep,
But
yep.
definitely, this one was fun. Definitely, thank you for joining. A little bit of a later edition. Usually, we'll try to get these in a lot earlier. As you can see, we're in kind of new digs. I did a lot of moving and hauling and stuff today, so I had to start a little bit later. But yeah, this was a lot of fun, dude. So until next week when we see what we missed and maybe brag about what we landed.
They wrote them down this time, so
This is gonna be hilarious, dude. If the Falcons win, I get to
if
say that
if I
I had so much more belief in the Falcons than supposed Falcon fan over here, Craig Christ.
if
Learn to be
I
a
bet
homer. Learn to be a homer. I got my Niners big over the
I'll tell
Cards.
you
Come
what.
on, let's go, baby.
I'll tell you what. I know a place where I can do this. If the Falcons win this week, my jersey next week will be a San Francisco 49ers jersey. I will come out repping your boys. I will go out and buy. I do not have a Niners
No,
jersey right now.
you don't have one yet.
I
Okay, I
do
thought you
not have a
had one
Niners jersey right
somehow.
now. No, Niners are one of the teams that I do not have. I will go
Wow.
out and buy a Niners jersey, and next week I will be wearing the Niners jersey if the Falcons win and I let my team down. I will pay the financial burden of it. I will. I will eat the financial burden, and I will come on next week wearing a Niners jersey. It'll probably be pretty cool because the place I have only sells vintage jerseys. So it'll probably be like a Jerry Rice or a Joe Montana or something really cool like that.
I dig it. I dig it. Damn.
That is my promise right now. It's going out. It's going out to the world. Be up on YouTube tomorrow so everybody can go back and clip this and tell me forever that I let my Falcons down.
Here
But
we
yeah.
are. All right. Well, I guess signing off now. Craig, you got anything to close with?
Nah, fun as usual, man. I
Yeah.
enjoy doing these.
Right on. All right. Until next Friday, y'all. This is Sports Clichés with Craig and Jay. See us every Friday. Until next time.